When a new season begins, there's a lot of anticipation, a lot of unknowns, and a lot of expectations. While the start of the Pro Series season didn't begin as expected, the admins, the fans, and the drivers have had an extra week to build up the hype. 60 drivers are registered here to take part in the Season 6 opener for the area Florida State Builders Pro Series here at Daytona. My name is Finney DeCuna here with Connor Horner, Hunter Sleppy. Guys, glad to be back with you in the booth once again. As always, for Season 6 now of the Area Pro Series here at Daytona. We've seen some fantastic racing in the past, in years past, and I expect nothing less for here today.
Yeah, we definitely expect nothing less, and I think it's going to be incredibly more insane because we've had a week to kind of dwell on the fact that we had to at least push back this race a week further. I think that's going to make this an even more unpredictable race than we've ever seen here at Daytona in this Pro Series at this 2.5-mile racetrack in Daytona Beach. It's going to be a wild one. Everyone is hyped up and ready, but first, Hunter, we got to settle the 43 car field that's going to make the field. To my count, we have 10 drivers going home tonight at most. It's been wild, the start we've had so far of so many DNQs in all three series, but this is the first time in the Pro Series we're going to see it this season. We have a lot of strong open cars as well.
Yeah, very similar to the Truck Series from the previous Tuesday night to kick off the season at Daytona. We had to send some drivers home, and we haven't really had the chance to do that yet in the Florida State Builders Area Pro Series. As we look at the current conditions, I think it's a bit unusual to see a track temp that low, especially for Daytona with how hot it is, the humidity, getting to the slickness of the tires and the racetrack. But yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing which open drivers are going to make it through. We've got a couple of big names here on this list, like looking at JT Poole. He had a pretty good season last year. He was a reserve driver for DWR. Tom Bourne as well. Looking at Ben Pierce, Justin Sogak. He won this race here not too long ago. And then we got some newcomers in the field like John Forbes Jr. or Ryan Nowicki making the jump from the trucks to the Pro Series. Got Trevor Williams as well, RJ Williams. Not sure if they're related, but nonetheless, going to be interesting to see how these guys are going to handle the 2.5-mile tundra of Daytona.
Yeah, trying to find all the drivers you mentioned there on the list, but there's so many drivers out here that it's kind of hard to go through the list because I have to scroll down to just get to some of the names lower on down. Here's some familiar names that are running in a pack at the moment. Garrett Grant currently in the number 5 car, and in front of him the number 26. I want to say I feel like I should know who's in that car, but I can't find them on my scoring at the moment.
JT Poole, he's showing up as the 35, so kind of like we saw on Tuesday night. His number is a little different. That's going to be something we see all night long. Green flag pit stops, if we get to them, that's going to be a troubling spot for a lot of drivers. Can't forget about Garrett Grant. He's third on timing sheet, most starts in area history. I believe to my count he has, I don't know, maybe 259 starts, somewhere around there. He's closing in on 300 very quickly. But one of the open drivers I'm going to be looking forward to is Logan Clampett joining us for the Area Pro Series. What a huge name he's going to be if he runs the races he runs. We'll see how many he runs, but I believe he's in the field tonight. He's going to be very, very fast tonight, and you would think he's going to be a front runner as we're a minute away from qualifying.
Yeah, would expect to see some interesting strategy here, whether you're trying to get on pit road, because we saw a few times on the Cup side and the Truck side, drivers go in on their own. Sometimes they go in with other cars, but not with their teammates. And then sometimes it's all team orders, Vivian. So really it's a roll of the dice here as we're less than a minute away from qualifying. The only driver to win from the pole is Shane Tyrion back in Season 2. Other than that, the average winner is, or the average starting spot for the winner is 14th. And last year, Richard Thomas started all the way back in 39th and was able to lead just 6 laps, but he led the most important laps, Finian.
Yeah, led the most important laps. That's going to be a big thing, too, is, being there where it counts. We've seen so many times, a lot of this race is getting into position, being there where it matters, when it matters most, right there at the end to make sure you can get the win. The big thing, too, is just surviving this race, right? It's a matter of survival. So many cars out here. The aggression level is going to be high, especially with new drivers in the series. So a lot of things, just kind of almost arguably out of your hands.
Yeah, a lot of it is out of your hands, especially in this Xfinity Series car. In the Cup cars, you kind of make runs from the rear of the field. Trucks in Xfinity, you can't really do that. If you're not in the front, like, 5 lanes or in the front 5 rows with, like, 10, 15 to go, you're probably not going to get to the front. When these lanes get 3 by 3 near the end of a race, it's not like Talladega where you maybe can make a 4th lane. There is no 4th lane. You have maybe 3 lanes. If anyone tries to make that 4th lane work, it's not going to happen. You're going to see a big crash. You need to be at the front after your last set of pit stops, or just in general stay up there for the rest of the race. That's why qualifying is going to be very, very important, because not only do these open drivers need to make the race, but everyone in the race, open drivers and charter drivers, they need to start up at the front and plan their strategy from there to make sure they have track position near the end of a race. If you don't have it, you're not going to finish up at the front as we get into qualifying. For the first time this season for the Pro Series, Justin Anasogak on track, the first one we see on track, at least in the number 88, 609 Motorsports reserve driver, but not on a team this season. He's one of our former winners here at this track.
Yeah, not too much time for these guys to lollygag or wait for a cloud to pass over the track or the temperature to go down by half a degree. You got to go out and put out the time as soon as possible, because we went from 10 minutes to 5 minutes, and you know how long it takes to just get a warm-up lap here and then put down your lap time, your qualifying lap. So no time to waste, Finian.
Yeah, no time to waste at all. You want to get out there and get a lap in. We saw in a couple of the other series drivers missing out on the lap because they waited too long to get going. Of course, only 1 lap for these drivers available. I don't think that's going to be too big of a problem for them here, but you want to make sure you get that lap in and make sure it counts, especially if you're an open driver.
Especially for someone like Anasogak. Could you imagine a former winner going home, possibly? Got to make sure there's only 1 lap as well. You can't run the top lap number 1. You got to get out of the... Pit exit is pretty important as well. You got to make sure you get out of pit lane, off the apron, as fast as you possibly can. Then you'll run maybe a groove and a half off the wall through 3 and 4. Cut it down in a tri-oval to get the best run out of a tri-oval possible. And then everything you got to do after that is just hold a pretty wheel, and you'll probably make the field at a fast time. Anasogak did that through 3 and 4. You'll also use the apron. Not out of bounds during qualifying. It will be out of bounds during the race, so drivers got to be aware of that as well. Anasogak crosses line 50.870 for now at the top of the board, but you'll see a bunch of times go in as well. We're already halfway through our allotted time for qualifying as he stays up on the board.
And Jeremy Miller's up there, and like you mentioned, Connor, on the left side of the screen, these are going to flash up like a grenade in Vietnam. They're just going to be all over the place. Too much to keep track of, but we're going to keep track of this 30 car for Jeremy Miller, and had a pretty good run here a couple seasons ago at the Super Speedway races, so we'll see what his lap time is if he can dethrone Justin Anasogak.
50.936 for the number 30 machine. Where does it throw him up on the board? Down in 20th, unfortunately, but of course has a charter, doesn't need to worry about making it into the show. The driver who's doesn't have to worry is Jake Nichols in the 73, teammate in this series with 609 Motorsports. To Jeremy Miller. He comes across the line. He's actually starting a lap, trying to see some other drivers out there. Colin Fambro, that's a name I haven't said in quite a while. He's in the 18 car. He's rolling out on the track. But guys, it's going to be tight for him. It's going to be really close.
He's coming out. He's down the back straightaway. I think he'll get a time down. He'll only get the 1 lap, so I think he'll be fine. Anyone getting on the track around now, they're going to be struggling for time. Anyone who's trying to roll out of pit lane now, they're going to be in trouble. Levi Hellman, I believe that's how you pronounce that. If wrong, I'm sorry. He's up to 4th. Jeff Wright, seems like, what is this, ORL again? But Jeff Wright's 3rd on the leaderboard, so a good lap for him. Alex Bell, I think, just finished his lap. Colin Fambro now he's crossing the line. He has about 35 seconds to spare, so he should be all good to get this time in.
Yeah, he's good to go. He's part of Powerhouse Racing, so his spot's already locked into the field. And just like that, Jake Nichols to the top of the charts with a minute remaining in qualifying.
He did it by a large margin.
Yeah, what's it? 11 thousandths of a second. That's a pretty decent gap compared to everyone else, literally separated by thousandths of a second as we go further down the board. Oh, I think someone else just shot up there. Logan Clampett in the number 90. Sorry, looks as the 44 on the door is the 90 car. He comes across the line, looking at Colin Farrow to see where he is. He's coming out of turn 4. Oh, he actually beat it by a decent amount. You weren't kidding when you had a decent amount of time left. In the number 18 car, he will go across the line. Where will he end up? That'll be the big question mark for the 18. Was a
down the order.
50.9 back in 36th for him.
And there shouldn't be too many other drivers putting times down. Nathan Jump, this is a driver that cut it close. He's only going to have maybe 15 seconds when he does cross the line here, as I believe he is one of our open drivers, so he needs to put this time down. He's going to, let's see, 50.929. That is going to be only good enough for 28th, so we'll get the numbers once we go into warm-up, but that is going to be tight.
That's going to be tight, and as it runs, that is all 52 drivers in the session. They have made it across the line, and qualifying will be over just like that, and it'll be Jake Nichols, Justin Munsell, Logan Clampett, Anna Sogak, and JT Poole. That'll be the top 5 going to the race.
Yeah, and there's going to be an interesting top 5 as well, because it's a bunch of fast drivers. Obviously, nothing. You can't say anything else about Logan Clampett, Jake Nichols, and obviously Anna Sogak has won here. Justin Munsell always runs up front here, and JT Poole is very aggressive. It seems like it's very rare when you have a bunch of fast drivers qualify at the front at Daytona. Usually they make their way up to the front anyways, but we have a strong top 10 to start this field so far, as we're getting the numbers right now. We'll see who gets D&Q'd, and we'll see who doesn't, as we got a 10-minute warm-up, and we use most of it, but excited to see all the new names in this Pro Series, like a Jeff Wright, who we've seen be very dominant in other series. We haven't seen him in the area quite yet, and he's always in his iconic, he just pretty much always runs Jimmy Johnson schemes. This league's no different.
The best Jimmy Johnson schemes, the Lowe's ones. I never really was on board with the Ally Paint schemes. The Lowe's was just pure Jimmy Johnson, is like hand-in-hand, like Kyle Busch and M&M's, Jeff Gordon, DuPont, just never quite separated. These liveries look timeless to me.
Certainly are, especially this one. Might be his most iconic Lowe's paint scheme, as he's going to the inside of the 98. 98 this season in the Pro Series is going to be... Actually, I don't see a 98, so I don't know who that is.
Yeah,
but
this is the troublesome thing. There's a 14. Connor Kresick in the 14. He's reappearing for this season.
Rafe Slate.
Rafe Slate in the 26. There we go. Yeah, it would be really nice if guys can sort the numbers out on their doors. Scored as the 26 is running the 98 number.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the 98 though, Hunter.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that is, because he is listed as 98 unless there was some last-second change.
I think people join the leagues late, and sometimes this happens. It happened Tuesday night as well.
That's happened in the SRO Esports Series, where you get one driver that joins in without a number set, then they take someone else's number, and then it kind of gets like a domino effect down the order. Everyone's numbers get mixed up. Zach Carr running out there in the 97 machine.
He's going out there with Alex Bell, and I believe that's Alex Bell in the 15.
Yep, there he is. Another familiar name.
No shortage of sponsorship for Century Night. He's got Midnight Energy on alongside, as they did last season as well.
Ryan Hart's in the 54 machines out there in the BetMGM car.
He's always fast here as well.
Yeah, well, I'm expecting big things from him this year, although internet has been a little bit of an issue for Ryan Hart so far this season and towards the end of the last season. But like I said, expecting big things from Hartz. I think he's definitely got it capable of running up front and being able to win these races, but it's all a matter of just keeping that internet connection stable. His average finish was 26th last season. That is un-Ryan Hartz-like.
Riding on board here, Justin Munsell, one of several drivers with an in-car camera, or driver camera, I should say, riding on board with them as the race goes on. We'll see, I believe all of them made it on through, and I think almost all of them have charters, so as they get on the track, we'll get to them as the sun begins to set. That's going to look awesome as the race goes on. Get into darkness. Weather-wise, I don't expect much to change. It's already fairly cool. 79 in the air, 86 on the track. That'll only cool down as the sun begins to set.
We do have our list of DNQs as well. So all our drivers going home. These are drivers not making it. John Forbes Jr., Nathan Jump is a big one to miss the field, as is Matthew Rodriguez in the 0-1, Timothy Stubblefield, Zach Wilson, Cedric Hunter did not make the field in the 70 car. That's a big blow. Ryan Nowicki, Trevor Williams, Spencer Brown, who I believe was full-time last season, and Julian Valadez. All those drivers missed the field tonight. Open drivers that did make it: Logan Clampett, Just Anna Sogak, JT Poole, Levi Heilman, Devin Johnson, Andrew Payne, Braxton DeWeese, Tom Bourne, and Ben Pierce was the last driver in on time. And looking at the times that we have, Hunter, we had 1/1000th of a second separating the last driver in and the first driver out. That's how tight it's going to be all season long.
Yeah, I mean, especially at a track like Daytona, where we saw it in the Area 500, saw it in the Area Truck Series as well, just that slim margin, those thousandths of a second. It's just, what could you have done better? Was it getting off pit road? Was it getting up near the wall? Was it turning down this way in the turn? Was it turning down that way on the front stretch? Very minimal error there that could have been the determining factor, missing or making the field.
I just want to give a shout out to the Area iRacing Twitch channel. Race fans, be sure to subscribe to the Area iRacing Twitch channel as a subscriber. You'll have Area iRacing emotes to use in chat and earn double channel points that you can use to redeem for free merchandise for just $5 a month. Join today. And also, thanks to our starting grid sponsor, Central Mobile Homes. Looking for a small or a large home, a new shed, or a triple crown trailer? Look no further than Central Mobile Homes. They've been proudly serving Florida customers for over 28 years with a plethora of small and large home floor plans, shed designs, and triple crown trailers. Available in LaBelle, Okeechobee, Clewiston, and Sebring. Head to centralmobilehomeinc.com to get started today. And speaking of our starting grid, waiting for the admins to finalize the entries. They already have the list. Just get everything sorted, finish the drivers' meeting, and then we can get out there and go racing. How chaotic are we going to expect this race to be? You know, we see across all three series, all the cars race slightly differently. The trucks and the Xfinity cars a little bit more similar to each other compared to the next gen, which is almost its own beast entirely. I mean, Connor, I know you had a lot of seat time in all of the cars. What do you expect this race to end up being?
I think it's going to be a little bit chaotic. I don't think it's really because of how these cars race. I mean, these cars are on edge compared to anything else we drive here, just because of how light the rear is, especially entering the corner. I think that's going to be a big point we see into the corner when these cars get light. That's where we could see trouble. But I'm really thinking it's going to be chaotic because of the longer wait that we've had, as we see the onboard here from Travis Beckner a little bit. It's not really VR, but it's more like
close enough.
A POV, which is pretty cool to see. But I think it's going to be chaotic because of the week-long wait that we've had to see for this Pro Series. Everyone's very giddy and on edge, ready to race this track like they were ready to last week. But I think that's going to cause some chaos. I think everyone's going to get a little over-aggressive and maybe overhyped for this. So we could see a lot of chaotic things happen tonight. That's what I'm predicting.
Yeah, I would expect it to be somewhat towards the middle and the back half of the race, definitely for that aggression to come out. I wouldn't expect the first 15 laps or so, guys, to be making aggressive moves, trying to go for the win when we're not even 5 laps in, 10 laps in, you know. So I think at least the first 15 laps fitting, we'll see it go clean and green. As for the rest of the laps, no clue. All bets are off.
I think it's really going to be a matter of just when do we get our first caution. I think that's when things will start to play out more from there. We'll start to get more and more yellows. We always say cautions breed cautions, and that is very much true here as we look at Braxton DeWeese in a Ford Mustang. And looking at the entry list, not too many Ford Mustangs are hanging around the field. I see a lot of Chevy Camaros and quite a few Toyota Supras. Not too many Fords out there. I think 1 of 3.
Usually the Toyotas that are kind of lacking numbers, but the Fords also at the same time kind of struggle as well. But DeWeese was very fast last week for Daytona, got on the front row. I believe he finished second in his duel, so he was very fast, but was not able to get the finishes he deserved in the Cup Series as we cross over to the race. So we'll see what DeWeese can do in his Mustang tonight.
All right, well, the timer went down, Finian, and it looks like we're about to get our starting grid rolling. So, folks, grab your water, grab your Gatorade, grab your popcorn, grab everything you need. Strap in for the next 90 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to need a glass of water after I'm done reading off all these names here, as you'll try to get started with them as quickly as you can, because we have a lot of names to go through. Going through your starting grid there, looking on the left-hand side of the screen, you see Jake Nichols in the 73 starting off in first. Next to him, Justin Munsell lined up in the second-place car in the 6.
And then the third position, row number 2 of the night, is going to go to Logan Clampett, who's always been a fast driver when he was a pro. He's in the 90 tonight. He might show up as 44 for us, though, but he'll be 90 on the ticker. Justin Sogak, Season 4 winner here, starts 4th.
Moving on back to row number 3, JT Poole lined up in 5th in the number 35 car. Next to him, James Scioli lined up in the 7, rolling off in 6th.
Scioli's going for, I believe, 4 in a row this season. The number 48, Jeff Wright, will start in the 7th position in his Area Pro Series debut. Levi Heilman, I don't believe he's made a start in the series either, but he'll start in the 8th position.
Moving on back to 9th place is going to be Ray Slate in the number 26 machine. Next to him, Brody Falker rounding out the top 10 in the 42 car.
11th position, Brad Slaughter Jr., always a threat at these super speedways. And then 12th position, 609 Motorsports driver Philip Groner, also making his Pro Series debut.
Moving on back to 13th, Matthew Bell in the number 43 machine, ready to get going. Justin Fuller next to him, 55 car lined up in 14th.
15th position, the 61 of Bronson Stafford, a staple of this series and of area as a whole. And Devin Johnson will be driving the iconic number 3 car. He'll start 16th.
Moving on back to 17th place is going to be Cameron Hearn lined up in the 4. Next to him, Garrett Grant going to be rolling off in the 5 in 18th.
19th position goes to the 87 of Blaze McKinney, and David Weishart, another threat at these tracks, or really at any track. He'll start just inside the top half of the field's 20th position.
Moving on back to 21st is going to be Andrew Payne lined up in the 77 car. Next to him, Ryan Hartz in the 54 in 22nd.
23rd position, Braxton DeWeese, who we were just talking about in one of those few Ford Mustangs in 23rd. Zachary Carr, another debut in the Pro Series for another driver. He starts 24th.
Moving on back to 25th is going to be Ben Pierce lined up in the 65 car. Next to him, Tom Bourne lined up in the 26th position in the 16 car.
And I believe this next row, these are the first 2 drivers that did not make the field. And you can see how pretty high up they qualified. Forbes Jr., Nathan Jump, neither driver making the field tonight. So the next row of cars that do make the field, I believe, would be who are showing 29th place is Jeremy Miller and then Casey Lakatos.
Yeah, you got Travis Beckner there lined up in 29th in the 27 machine. Alexander Brisson 30th in the 38 car.
The next row is actually Jeremy Miller. And then I believe the next row would also be Casey Lakatos. So the order is a little bit mixed up because of the DNQs. It doesn't update, but you could see who's in and who's out, as we noted earlier.
Yeah, Casey Lakatos, Zach Nichols, Joey Chapman, I believe, is in, if I'm not mistaken. Trey Edson, also a driver that will be in.
Yes.
Colin Fambro and Greg Mitchell, both of them making their way on through. Alex Bell in 39th in the 15. Connor Kresick in the 14. Timothy Stubfeld, Shane Abbey also back there as well. I think a couple more.
And then Zach Wilson was one of the drivers that did miss the field. I believe Alex Weaver might be starting. He might be one of the last drivers in. So a lot of DNQs tonight. Cedric Hunter, Ryan Nowicki. Maybe Kyle did fix this because he said he was going to talk about doing it.
I don't think he did.
I don't think so, but it's kind of weird. It's showing them differently. But you could see a lot of DNQs back there, like a Spencer Brown, who was one of those drivers that did miss the field.
All right, guys, before we go, Green, pick me a winner. Who do you think's got what it takes to win here?
I'm going to pick first, and I'm going to go with, I think, JT Poole. I think he's got the aggression to win this one. So give me the 26, who is showing up as a 35. I got Poole.
Scioli is my pick.
Scioli's your pick. I'm going to go with Justin Anasogic in the 88. Well, we'll see whose pick's going to be right as we got 43 cars rolling to the start line, and we're getting ready to go. 95 laps on the clock, and we are green here at Daytona. Field rocketing out of turn 4 and back to the start-finish line will be Jake Nichols that'll lead lap number 1, and everyone still very much in formation.
And we aren't seeing anyone go 3 wide quite yet like we saw in the truck race last Tuesday, but everyone's still pretty orderly. We'll see drivers trickle to that third lane in just a little bit of time, and I'm sure of it, but Nichols Bunsell definitely secure with just leading their lines right now. 73 was very...
Oh,
crash!
wreck in the back.
This is big crash at the back. Lakatos, I think car's in it. Huge crash at a turn number 2. We didn't even make it a lap and a half.
No, he didn't. Did not take long at all. I saw Casey Lakatos at the center of that and already got some race cars destroyed. on the back straightaway. Well, let's take a look and see what happened here.
Ryan Swan got totaled out of that. Got our first replay.
Right on board, Bryce Senizak, one of the drivers further on back to see what happened. The car went up the hill. I think, was it Licata? He was the victim of that. I'm not sure who started that.
There's like a big checkup out of too from someone. I'm not sure why there was a checkup, but that's what it looked like happened.
See where Licata is running. There we go, because we know that he was the one. Oh, a big checkup on the inside lane. The 14 McCresick getting out of line. He made contact, and then everyone else getting involved around him.
Bryce Senizak was one driver who took a big hit. It looked like Zachary Carr was at the front of the line and maybe started this stack up. We're getting where Jacob Bell said the 97's connection went bad, and that's why he was going slow, and then it caused a big stack up where it kind of ends with O'Kresick and Chapman.
I was just about to say, there was a separation in the packs already, which was a little bit unusual, and then Licata gets turned around from the checkup going on the inside. And remember what I said about feel like the first 15 laps are going to be clean and green? That's what we call a commentator's curse. At it again by yours truly.
Yeah, you predicted it, unfortunately. Predicted it the wrong way there. He's right on board with Joey Chapman, his on board. Oof. Over him to go in the Coca-Cola machine.
And he's going to have big damage as well. You could just see 97 car did drop out now, so definitely was having internet issues. It's almost like he probably didn't see anyone on his screen. It's almost like, I'm sure he wasn't lifting, so what I'm going to assume has happened is that he was full throttle and not getting drafted because there was no one around him, but the drivers behind him still saw him. So really weird scenario that can happen sometimes in iRacing, and unfortunately it destroyed a lot of fast cars early on, as all those drivers that were in the crash are going to pit. I don't think
look
that one
at
getting
that
back
car.
on track.
Ryan Swan, his car is particularly destroyed.
Not good at all.
One of the first drivers to join the modified class, and unfortunately going to start early here, only just after lap 2. Shane Abbey getting repairs. That car looking in decent shape. Same thing with Connor O'Kresick. I think for a lot of these guys, they're just down there fixing minor damage. Should be able to get out there. Case Cottis, he took a decent hit, so he's still down there. A couple other drivers out rolling on the track. It looks like Zach Carr is retired, and because of that, we might be trying to join back after having internet issues. And that's the most frustrating thing. And if you need to ask anyone about that, we were talking about it before in the pre-race. Ryan Hartz can tell you all about that.
Yeah, he's had a lot of issues to start the season. I think he lagged out of a shootout 3 to 4, maybe 5 times.
Like that at Texas, too.
And yeah, he did lag out at Texas as well. So he's definitely going to hope it doesn't happen tonight, happen to someone else. So maybe it's good luck for him in the BetMGM Toyota Supra, as he's sitting in 20th. I believe he got through that unscathed, but a lot of drivers who are unfortunately not going to be able to recover from this, like the 20 that we saw. Bryce Senizak, Case Licata, those are the 3 cars that took the biggest hits out of that crash.
Yeah, the BetMGM car made it through, but the FanDuel one did not. So victory to BetMGM as far as that goes. Still early on, though. Jake Nichols going to lead the first few laps of the season, and without any pressure behind him because we're under yellow. But yeah, kind of odd to see the first yellow take place this early. I do want to say the last 3 seasons we've had overtime finishes, so it might be trending towards that. But the first 2 seasons, I wanted to say we had early yellows but long green flag runs to end this one. So maybe this is a trend that we're starting to see go in the opposite direction, where we get some long green flag runs in. Fingers crossed that we can at least get 5 laps in of green flag run. Definitely
could be here. We got 1 lap to go to green. Just want to take this time to thank our replay sponsor, Hendry County Motorsports Park. Racing returns to Hendry County Motorsports Park on September 7th, including 360 Top Gun wing splits, Crusoe late models, factory stocks, and more. Tickets are $15 for adults, with discounted prices for seniors, teens, and kids. Ages 5 and under are free. Come see racing at the southernmost dirt track in America, located in Clewiston, Florida, off U.S. Highway 27. Visit henryracing.com for more information on that. $15 for a night of racing, that is an awesome deal, especially in this economy. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, I would say so, certainly, as we'll get the one to go. We already have it, excuse me, as looks like 73 is going to take the top line. Might be to benefit Anna Sogak, who is not on 6-9 Motorsports, but he is the reserve driver for the season, so maybe those two are going to try to work together. Plus, Anna Sogak knows how to stay at the front at these super speedways. It's kind of why he won 2 of 3 in Season 4. He won the Truck Series race, and then he won the Pro Series race.
Yeah, and I think the first 4 rows or so, they look relatively the same. I think the only difference is that 5th row. I think Brody Falliker was restarting on the outside, or the initial start was on the outside lane, going to restart on the inside lane here, and some guys in the back still trying to get sorted in. But Logan Clampett going to be behind the 6 on this restart of Justin Munsell. Could see the 6 of Justin Munsell go to victory lane. He's been so close time and time again. I feel like at some point this season, Season 6 for the 6 car, will be the one where he breaks through to victory lane.
Well, we'll see what happens here. Getting the restart here. Lap 5 coming to lap 6. Pace car off again. And most of the field is still with us, ready to get rolling. We're off and away back here at green. A little bit of a combobulated start there for drivers on the outside lane trying to get going, but a great start for the 73 of Nichols and the 88 of Justin Anasogak.
And I believe that played out exactly how they wanted it to. Those two getting out in front, and they'll be able to come down whenever they want to, really. They got that big of a jump to have all the time in the world. As someone collected back there, but hasn't caused anything quite yet, as now here comes some battle to the top side, and Sogak almost looked like he wanted to block Munsell, but wasn't able to do it.
And Munsell's got a mirror full. That's 7 of Sky Ellie, and then behind him it's JT Poole pushing through it again. A little bit of a run, but we've seen here that the outside lane, you get the run on the straights, but on the inside lane, they get the runs through the turns. Right now, that's all that Justin Munsell sees. No one in front of him except that 73 of Nichols who's inside.
Having a bit of a drag race with the 73 off at turn 4, trying to see if he can beat him at the line, and it doesn't look like he was quite able to get there this time by. It was off by a couple thousandths of a second. Just trying to see if he can get something going with James Scioli. Back in Rick's Hot Sauce colors. I feel like it's been a long time since I've seen him with Rick's Hot Sauce on the hood of that car. Been bearing that for quite a while. Changed sponsors and changed teams in the Cup Series. Still got the 7 running here in the Pro Series as the third lane is moving up on the top side. Matthew Bell leading the charge with the 98, which is not the 98.
Rafe Slate
showing
20. So that's kind of what we talked about. I think we were going to see this much earlier if we didn't have that caution, but instantly 4 or 5 guys after the restart jumping up there, trying to get track position and just trying to lead a lane and not be in the middle of everything. You got Bell up there, Slade up there. I believe that's Brad Slaughter, and maybe Ryan Swan, not Ryan Swan, the 54 who we were talking about, Ryan Hartz is up there as well. So a number of drivers trying to get to the front in a hurry, and they're going to hope to stay there.
Yeah, not even 10 laps in. We got about 5 or 6 rows, maybe 7 to 3 wide action going deep throughout the field, heading into turn 2 and now down the backstretch. But it's still a deadlock as far as the front 3. Maybe a little bit of momentum on that outside lane for Bell. Munsell holding his own in the middle. Nichols on the bottom, heading into 3.
Heading into turn 3 there. Look at that 3 beautiful rows of cars all lined astern. This is the big question is, how long can they keep this formation, and will they may back out of it? Looks like that outside lane losing a little bit of steam that they had. And I see quite a few guys near the back of the field is kind of waiting it out. You see a whole bunch of stragglers back here. Honestly, this might be where I want to be at this point in the race.
If you're not in the front 2-3 rows, I would say you probably just want to lay back like Ben Pierce is doing right now, who I believe was one of the last drivers in the field. Alex Bell just laying back, especially after that last crash. Saying that, the last crash we saw was at the back of the field and caused by AirNet, so it's kind of, pick your poison of where you want to be. Do you want to be at the back? If there's a crash, you might lose the draft, but if you're at the front, you're probably in the crash no matter what. So it's kind of pick your poison at this point. They're 3x3, but like you were saying, Finney, and the top line kind of dying, because it looked like that 43 had a little wiggle through 3 and 4 last time by.
Yeah, there's some cars that are better being pushed than others, and Bell was able to be out there for a little bit, but I don't know if it's just the bad run that he had and he's still trying to regain momentum, but some guys are like that where they would prefer pushing or being pushed, and looks like the outside lane's starting to get a little bit of momentum, a little bit more stability, although not as many cars as the middle and the bottom lane.
Yeah, they're still trying to get something going on the top 9. Quite as strong as they were initially at the front of it. I think they lost a few drivers out there helping them. I think only 5 cars in that outside lane are at the moment. The big thing, though, is that these leaders are approaching some lap traffic. There's been a couple cars. They passed Shane Abbey not too long ago, and they got 2 lap cars on different sides of the track. That is a recipe for disaster. Hopefully they can figure this out.
especially when they're 3x3. Joey Chapman went to the apron, which is probably the right call, but when you're 3 wide at Daytona, there's not a lot of room for 4. So Matthew Bell's going to have a decision to make if he wants to push this 4 with how big of a run he has, and he wasn't willing to do that. Kind of how we saw the truck race end with a crash because of lap traffic in the bottom lane, but this time, so early in the race, Matthew Bell just decided to back out of it and bite the bullet. We got a car spun in the grass. I think that was Joey Chapman. I think he tried getting out of the way too much because he's going through the grass.
Yeah, it's 3 laps down. I think just trying to stay out of harm's way. Unfortunately, things going from bad to worse for him. And Hunter, what that's caused, it looks like that outside lane has come back, but with a new face near the front of it.
Yeah, Matthew Bell faded towards the back. He's in that back part of the back there. You see Travis Beckner up there starting to somewhat lead a charge on that outside lane, at least pushing. I believe that's David Weishart in the 33. No, it's Blaze McKinney in the 87. Weishart was to his inside, but they're 2-car tango going on that third lane.
Yeah, I was going to say, typically you need, I would say, at least 4 cars to really get a lane going, but they're foregoing that completely, just going to the front. Thing is, can they keep that up? Because at some point, that engine's going to start running hot. You're going to need someone to come back from behind. See Cameron Hearn in the number 4. He's straggling back there. He was up top a little bit earlier. Now trying to come back up there to help him. It looks like Jeremy Miller's having some internet issues.
Oh, the 69 Motorsports internet plan is not working as well, clearly, but it's definitely looking like we've seen this all the time. 2-car tandem can work in the truck and the Pro Series, but the problem with that is once you heat up your engine and you're high on oil temp, you're going to have to drop back unless the third car gets up there to push or a third driver gets in front of a lead driver. 2-car tandem doesn't last long enough. You really have the time to run right to make it work and get clear of the bottom 2 lanes to make that work. Otherwise, you'll just kind of stay back here like the 87 and 27 are. But as I say that, they get more help. Here comes Hearn. Here comes the 14 of Okrezik back as well. And now we got a lane of about 5 cars in that top third lane.
Plane landing as we speak, but the outside lane has reformed slowly but surely, and always seems to find Cameron Hearn and Travis Beckner. They always seem to be near each other on the racetrack, no matter what place we go to. Could be Daytona, could be Atlanta, could be Homestead, could be a short track like Bristol. They always seem to find themselves near each other, and they're working together again. That third lane rolling in the turn 1.
Trying to get something moving, trying to get something going forward, but I haven't seen anyone really quite able to triumph that outside lane. Munsell has been down on the bottom for quite a while now. So was able to jump down there earlier on and kind of let the rest of the pack fade off, but could try to control both lanes. He's ahead of James Carroll and trying to stay ahead of the 73 of Jake Nichols, and looks like, well, he jumped up in front of Sky Elliott, not going to be able to jump back down on Nichols. Nichols going to try to take the advantage and have his pseudo-teammate, the 88 of Andy Sogat, give him a little bit of a push to the front.
And it has been a little bit of a while since we've seen the 6 of Munsell in victory lane, I believe. But he's not really the full time in all 3 series, so he has less opportunities to win. But he's always been fast at these super speedways. A little wiggle out of the 4 of Hearn there. But he's always been fast. It's just a matter of time until he gets back to victory lane. I can remember back to Gateway 2 seasons ago when he came within inches of winning. He's still waiting on one more checkered flag.
I think Beckner had a wiggle as well, something with that outside lane. They can get going for about a lap or 2 whenever there's more than the 4 cars there, but for some reason they get a little squirrely and sometimes they lose momentum, but right now everything's holding firm. Nichols on the bottom, Munsell on the middle now, and it's hard trying to control all 3 lanes. I think that's what Munsell was trying to do, and unfortunately it just didn't work out, and now he's in the sucker hole, but fortunately for him, he's got about 9 other drivers in that lane.
Quite a few drivers still up here near the front of this pack as he'll race off into turns 1 and 2. Ooh, the outside driver is getting fairly close to the wall. How about Connor Okrezik? I see him up there, 4th car in that outside lane. Trying to find where on earth he is on the scoring. There we go. He's actually in P14, and he's had a wild day so far. Was near the back in 40th, all the way back up to 14th now, in a fairly short amount of time.
And he was in that lap 1 or that lap 2 incident. He did get a decent bit of damage. I think you could see the left side door, the number is a little bit crinkled, but it's not really hurting his performance. He's able to stay in this 3rd lane pretty easily, even with the help of Rafe Sleep behind him, and solidly able to compete without a problem as Lakatos lets the field by on the apron. Jeremy Miller had a huge wiggle at the back of the line with a push, I think, from the 54 got him squarely.
Yeah, the major let-off there from the 54. Take a look at this. We're going to look at the rear of Jeremy Miller, just see how much of a bump this was again sideways.
I wonder if this was a stack up.
Whoa, and you see the car, you can see the car, the camera go up, the car get picked up. Ooh, and I think I hear something going on live.
That was, yeah, that Miller. If he didn't save that, that would have been maybe 10 cars at least, as it looks like everything's somewhat calm, but even maybe 18 laps on the tires, we're starting to see these drivers get a lot more squirrely, Hunter. It's just kind of what we see out of the Xfinity car at these super speedways. They are not glued to the ground like a cup car might be. They get out of shape.
Well, it's not just at Daytona as well. It's at every single track. It's just for some reason the tire wear seems to go way more on these Xfinity cars, and you can tell just from the corner exit. That's really where I'm starting to get a little bit nervous here. Turn 2, not so much. Turn 4, a lot, because especially if you're on that outside lane and you get squirrely, one wrong bump could create a big one for the rest of the field to encounter.
Oh, 4 wide.
Well, that's not going to work. There's Justin Munsell getting put in almost a sucker hole, if you will, there. 4 wide for a second. It looks like the 42 Brody Folliker decided to be the nice guy and let him back in lane to avoid calamity.
Yeah, I think the 6, Munsell was not pinching the bottom line to James Scioli's liking, and Scioli saw a huge gap to take, and he took it, and that put Munsell in a bad spot, but they got through it. You see right here, in this situation, you want to be pinching the line on the bottom. He wasn't doing that, and Scioli saw an opportunity and took it.
I don't even think if he could check up. If he had the chance, I don't even think he could check up, because JT Poole is just shoving him, and we can see it right now. He's still pushing the 7 to the front, but that outside lane is starting to get a little bit more organized, and now you can see Blaze McKinney take the charge heading into turn 3.
Ooh, 27 to Beckner looking a little bit loose for wear, and I think that unfortunately broke up the chain. They were looking really good compared to the middle lane. They were all hooked up on the outside. You saw how much ground they gained, but they got disconnected in turn 3, and that was enough to kill the charge. So they'll go back to formation, but that 87 still looking good. I gotta say, Blaze McKinney looking pretty strong in general. He's actually up quite a few spots. He got the 97 to Zach Carr, 4 wide again. Hang on, guys.
On the wall. I think Hearn hit the wall. We saw that kind of caused a big one Tuesday night. He hit the apron. It looks like they're going to get through 1 and 2 cleanly that time, but that was incredibly tight. I'm kind of shocked he didn't go to the apron 5 laps down, but they got through it.
Yeah, especially heading into turn 1 or into any of these turns. English is tough sometimes, but heading into any of these turns, especially with a lap car that doesn't pull low, just you're asking for disaster. They somehow made 4 wide work, not once but twice, and not 1 corner, but 2 corners and 4 corners. They worked it in all 4 corners, Finian.
Yeah, I was going to say, they've really been working it, trying to picking up lap cars here and there, drivers who've been repairing their damage. There's only a couple of stragglers left. There's this little 3-car pack here. Shane Abbey, Joey Chapman, and I want to say Ryan Swan there as well. And Casey Licata is all by his lonesome, but he's about to be inherited by that last group. Or maybe not, because that damage is still very severe on the number 50.
Yeah, and all 3 of these drivers are multiple laps down, and the 50s is so severe he won't be able to hold the draft until he can repair that. As up at the front, JT Poole gets back to the middle, or stays in the middle. He took the push from Blaze McKinney and then got back in front of the 7 to Scioli, as he's going to be the one to battle Nichols, who's been very content with being on the bottom line and not switching lanes, as the 3rd lane got squirrely yet again.
Yeah, him and Dana Sogang have something going on the bottom. Logan Clampett there as well. Then on board the bumper of JT Poole. Getting a good look at that Rick's Hot Sauce number 7 from Scioli. And a good look at Ricky Bobby looking at the rear of his setup right there in the background. But Poole holding his own in the middle. McKinney still getting a run on the outside. And it's on the straightaways, Finney, where we see that 3rd lane start to move forward.
And JT Poole flanked on dry drive. Whoa!
Big crash. This is going to be a huge crash. This is everyone in the field at the front.
Big crash here. And all drivers scattered across the back straightaway. Hoods being torn off. Bumpers being torn off. As the 2nd wreck of the night, and a big one, and that comes out on lap 22.
That's the huge one at Daytona. I mean,
that, what were you saying about when Beckner and Hearn are together?
Well, they always
what it looked like right there.
You find out who was at the epicenter of that, but look at this. Cars everywhere.
Don't know how many big hits there were. Look like Blaze McKinney had a big hit. Rafe Slate with the hood popping up. Looks like Philip Groner got through it, but it started with, and JT Poole got a decent bit of right rear damage. It started with Beckner at the top lane getting turned. It looked like Hearn just gave him a bad bump. Oh, what are the odds Jake Nichols is the... Oh, look at Brody Falliker got through it as well. What are the odds Jake Nichols the last one at the front to clear it?
I was about to say, they just had a domino effect that somehow just didn't get Jake Nichols.
But watch right here. You'll see it's kind of starting to sack up. And right here, Hearn goes to the right rear, just pushes incorrectly, not centered. That's all it takes to turn these Xfinity cars. And Hearn almost got through it, but he got sandwiched between the 77 and 87. You see right here, just all that energy, and you can't push the pusher, and that's what that was. Look at all these cars in it.
Yeah, a whole bunch of cars sideways. Salvador is picking up damage there. I'm trying to see if anyone made it on through, mostly unscathed.
I saw Brody Falliker, the 42, just snuck by.
See Jeff Wright, he went for excursion. Oh, he got knocked off, took the road course chicane a little bit. And he actually got lucky. He caught that little access road down there, was able to get enough grip to keep it off the wall.
Doesn't get much closer than that.
Right on board with the blimp shot here a little bit more. Try to get as many replays as of this, because this is going to be a large damage report after this wreck.
Yeah, and I'm still looking at the 42 was one of the guys who just skirted on by without going to the grass. See right there, bad bump. Falliker barely taps the 4. You could see him up there just squeezing by JT Poole at the top of the screen. You can see all these drivers just stopping to get avoided. And like you said, that access road was a godsend for the 48. He is pointed towards the inside wall.
Oh, David Weiser is just riding on board there. I haven't really mentioned him tonight. He got a door to the number 7 of Scioli. And he did a little bit of a pirouette in the grass. Right, take one more look. Take the static camera off of on the back straightaway.
Cars everywhere.
Look at that.
Only about 1, 2, maybe 3 get through without having to take evasive action at the front.
I think I saw Jeremy Miller make it through relatively unscathed. He's actually leading now. Right on board with the number 30 car. Oh, just jumped on the brakes, jumped on the binders, hope for the best. And then saw the gap and went through it.
It just had to slam on the brakes and wait for a gap to develop before safely getting through there. Same thing Brad Slaughter did, and he has found himself in a race lead in front of Jake Nichols because of that. I believe he might have taken fuel only. And what this does, I think it does cut a green flag pit stop out, Hunter. Before that, we were still probably looking at 2 green flag stops, but going green with about 70 to go, it should put us towards 1.
Yeah, I would say so. Just 1 green flag stop, which is really going to make this a little more interesting because, like we said, we're going to see guys that are going to fly in 2 wide, 3 wide, 4 wide, or even sliding through, speeding on entry, and then sliding through their pit stall. At least with if there were 2 green flag pit stops, then the first one you would eliminate the mistakes. But with there only being 1 realistic opportunity to have the green flag pit stop, that error. The risk for that error increases because you don't have that time, you don't have that preparation. Unless you practice it, it's just going to hit you like a brick wall.
It's taking a look at all the cars coming off of pit road. Saw Levi Heilman trying to get his damage fixed and get back on the track. He's got heavy damage to the nose of that car, so I have concern he's probably going to struggle like we've seen Casey Lakatos do. As you take a look at the field, not a whole lot of them in the main field. I think, let's see, back to 24th, 26th, 27th. And then everyone else is flying around the racetrack off of pit lane to get their repairs, get back on the track, and get, more importantly, back in the race. And Travis Beckner's down on pit road. He's a lap down.
Yeah, it looked like the left front got slammed, so I think his suspension's broken. He's going to go laps down repairing that. But like you said...
This is a live look at the Beckner cam, and that's not looking too good. It almost looks like the monitor's off.
And you could see how many drivers are coming around. It was led by Levi Heilman, but Slate, McKinney, Scioli, Poole, Andrew Payne.
Looks like they're going racing here.
And a lot of people who are at the front, Hunter, so that's going to change maybe the vibe and the energy of that lead pack. We still got guys like Jake Nichols and Sogek up there, but for the most part, a lot of new front runners.
Yeah, a good shakeup here, especially after that massive wreck. A lot of cars spinning on that backstretch, which I don't know if this track's ever going to get rescanned, Finian, but now that part of the track where everyone just spun out at, it's going to be all pavement, at least in the real-life world. I don't know about the sim, but yeah, a lot of cars spinning out, some guys with more damage than others, but we're about to cross the stripe and reach 70 to go here in Daytona.
Now let's see what we got in store. 2 big wrecks early on. We'll see how these drivers are going to handle that. Let's go back green here. A big shakeup in the order. Miller leading them on down.
You thought maybe Nichols and Miller would work together to get them both to the bottom, but maybe they just both want to try to lead the bottom and middle lanes, as Anna Sogak will help the 73. It's Logan Clampett on the bumper of Jeremy Miller with another 609 teammate Philip Groner at the third in line on the bottom. Here goes Clampett for the race lead.
Yeah, Clampett's going to get that push from Nichols on that outside lane, still side by side throughout majority of the field. See the FanDuel car, I think that is, I want to say that was Alex Weaver in the 2090. Trying to make it a third lane going, but still just side by side drag racing through 3 and 4. Miller on the inside, Clampett on the outside.
Yeah, Weaver in behind Matthew Bell. Very similar looking paint scheme, almost a same shade of blue right there and behind him in the 29 car. And I don't know if we're going to have a whole lot of cars enough to make a third lane go. I think they're going to might have to just sit in line at least till the field catches back up and they get those the old use lanes established. But it looks like a lot of drivers are electing just kind of hang back and relax a little bit, especially after 2 big wrecks.
Say that, but they are 2x2 at the very back of that line. Some lap cars like Zachary Carr, but also JT Poole, Andrew Payne. A lot of those guys who got damage in the last crash are going to have to work very hard to stay with the lead pack with all the damage they have. Not all of them got it fully repaired. I see a bunch of damage to the front fenders of that 6 still.
So the inside lane starting to get a couple more cars out now to where Philip Groner can make the move to the outside. Oh, and that's a massive sideways slam there from the 42, Brody Falliker. Keeping that car straight. Groner is going to lead the lap, and Miller on the way back, trying to get the inside lane regrouped, heading in the 1.
Whoa!
Oh, man.
How about that? That was a move from Logan Clampett trying to get to the inside of the 11, making a move into turn 1. Elevator move, and it's going to work out ahead of Jeremy Miller.
He just got clear of Miller to make that move, but he's got in a hornet's nest. He's got a bunch of teammates around him, and he's going to try to control all these teammates with Groner and Miller leading both lines. Groner's not going to pop out of line. He'll push the Clampett machine. I'll let Miller get back to the front.
I guess you could say he clamped it down to the bottom, but now is leading that middle lane again. And the rate of Brad Slaughter, we know how well he is at the Daytona tracks, and especially at Talladega as well, the super speedways. His favorite driver was Dale Jr. Of course he's going to be good here. Here he goes to the outside, not going to lead the lap, but that number 8 is in the lead. New leader, Brad Slaughter, heading into turn 1.
And look how well they get hooked up, and Clampett immediately leaving Slaughter out to dry. He's making no friends here. And he doesn't seem like he's interested in doing so whatsoever, just wants to get to the lead and keep it there. Miller catching back up to him to give him a little bit of a shot. Falker in behind him. Back on the outside lane, Groner trying to give a push with Jake Nichols in behind him.
And that move didn't really work for Clampett because there was no energy in that bottom lane. Miller had no push from the 42 of Falliker, so they're just trying to get back up to speed on that bottom line. Now they do through the center of the corner. They get that run through the corner to get back even, with Clampett leading the bottom, Slaughter leading the top. But like you said, not enough to make a third lane quite yet. No one's willing to do it. Maybe no one can do it right now. A lot less cars in the field. Miller got sideways. He's been very out of shape off the front bumper of a couple of drivers tonight.
Yeah, that one was Brody Falliker in the 42 behind, giving him that shove, trying to get the inside lane, all the momentum it needs rolling into the turn, and now Clampett, the leader, he can go up and block that outside lane if he wants to, but he's keeping that number 90 on the bottom. And then you got Brad Slaughter, and that is the 11 of Philip Groner with Jake Nichols on that outside lane, still pushing their way to the front in turn 3.
Pushing his way to the front in behind teammate Philip Groner, who we've seen has got quite a bit of speed in that 11 car, at least in the Cup Series, where he's in open car racing his way in every single week. So far, so good for him in the 11. And just trying to see what he can do here with the Pro Series cars. Got fellow teammates around him. And I think for the most part, he's doing pretty good. It seems like any car that gets in front of him, he's able to give enough of a push to keep them competitive and up there. As he passes a lap car. I don't even know whose car that is.
It's Levi Howman. He's struggling to make minimum.
I'm not surprised. He's got heavy damage to that car. Yeah, that car is completely torn up on the front end.
And you'll worry about passing cars like that at the end of the race if you're 3x3, and you would hope at the end of the race they will get out of the way fully, but they were 2x2, so he had plenty of room in the top lane, but he's going to try to ride around and make up any points possible today, as stay 2x2 at the front as he loses a draft. Still looking for anyone to test that third lane out. Nothing quite yet.
Yeah, he was one of the open cars that made the field and qualified up front relatively well. Unfortunate, that's how his night turned out, but you got to make the most of what you can, and hopefully you can make minimum speed and stay in this race. Meanwhile, it's still a race up front for the lead. Clampett on the inside, Slaughter on the outside. Expect that outside lane to get a run. Just the nose in front of Clampett is the 8 of Slaughter, and looks like they're catching more lap traffic heading into turn 3, Finian.
Yeah, more lap traffic ahead. I'm trying to see who that is. I think it's Casey Lacatas, and he's in a very similar, he's in the modified division with Heilman, and I think Heilman's actually pulled off and try to fix up that car more. I'm not sure if he's fixing it up or going to retire. Lacatas going to pull down and let the field on by. Doesn't want to ruin anyone else's race. Just wants to get out there and pass all the cars that have retired, which is not many, actually. Only one retirement so far. That's Cameron Hearn. Every other car is still running in this race with varying levels of damage.
Yeah, Beckner was out of the race. He just got back on track 8 laps down, so the 50's passed everyone he possibly can for now, and just going to hope for more attrition to work out for him as we stay at the front. Really no changes. Everyone's staying in line this run, with Slaughter running the top line and then Clampett running the bottom line.
You see towards the back, got a couple of 3 wide rows.
Whoa, we got cars on the apron back there. I think the 9 was someone I saw out of shape, Shane Therian, but I think we had another stack, but they kept it straight.
Nonetheless, on board with JT Poole, trying to navigate his way back towards the front. Like I mentioned, you got Ricky Bobby in the back, one of the best to ever do it at Talladega. And look at him go, Vinny. He's just working that third lane, starting to lead a charge of his own.
Yeah, I think he started waiting. He wants to get a third lane going. Feels like he can lead it. He's got Alex Bellin behind him in the number 15, who looks to be committed to his efforts, trying to push that 35 car up to the front. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like many others are joining him at the moment. Oh, there's a 22 ahead of him that jumped up when we were looking in behind.
Trey Eidson.
Yes.
I talked about him tonight. He led a few laps last night, or Tuesday night in the truck series, and was pretty fast in a different number tonight, but still trying to make it to the front. As we've seen a number of drivers blinking tonight. 48's the latest, but he's always had those issues, Jeff Wright has. But this is the first instance we've seen drivers, once again, Hunter, willing to push that third lane and try to get up there. And we see Jake Nichols kind of, they're kind of leaning towards going up there. They might want to try to get back control of the higher lane over Slaughter.
And they might do that, as you see to the bottom. We got a whole row of gold cars there. One for a split second, the 22, the 14, and the 54 of Ryan Hartz. He had a moment there off turn 4 just a moment ago where he was squirrely on the corner exit, but was able to keep it straight and going. And now going to the third lane is the 73 Jake Nichols. One to take control. Slaughter in the middle. Clampett on the inside, heading through 3 and 4.
Yeah, Jake Nichols joining up there on that top line, trying to keep them at bay. I think trying to make sure that he and his team in this series, 609 Motorsports, can control the race as much as possible. With several other drivers up near the front, they're doing very well as it stands. And that third lane up there is pretty much formed 6 cars strong. They're actually got more cars up there than in the middle lane. And as they go back 3 wide, you just kind of have to hope, keep your fingers crossed, nothing bad happens again. After seeing 2 big wrecks. One decent wreck and 1 major wreck. As we're on 12 laps into this run.
You can see all 609 Motorsports in each lane. The only driver not in there is Zach Carr, who had the internet issues. He's 5 laps down, but all the other 3 still kind of at the top, trying to make it work for all 3 of them. Kind of what we saw Monday and Tuesday night last week. All of them running well and ending up some with decent finishes, some not, because of the last lap chaos that we saw in both series. But so far so good, as Nichols thought him and Philip Groner were going to go to that third lane, but Groner decided to stay to the middle lane.
I guess they're going to try and get the 8 of Slaughter out of shape, but it's going to be tough given that he's the leader now, and maybe this is a part of their plan. Let the 8 get out in front and try to make the decisions on his own, but it's still Nichols on the outside, Slaughter in that middle. Had the opportunity to go down low if he wanted to, but that lane's still being led by Logan Clampett. We look at the 14 of Kresick. We mentioned earlier that he was in the middle of that first wreck and has now made his way back on the outskirts of the top 10 Finian, but nonetheless his 14 car is flying.
He's flying, but he's stuck at the moment. He's got cars on all sides of him at the moment. Can't go left, right, center, forward at least, or even back for that matter. So he's kind of stuck in the middle of this giant pack and has to figure out what he wants to do. He wants to stay here or pick a different lane when the door opens, if it ever opens for him.
It's getting more aggressive, so he might not have an opportunity to clamp it. Went to the middle, in the middle of 3 and 4. Then Slaughter went a lane higher, got back in front of the 90 of Clamp It. So now they're both in the middle. Jeremy Miller leading that bottom line as it got a bit hairy the last time by through this corner. Now Clamp It back to the bottom, trying to get the advantage on Slaughter, as these two are really the only two fighting hard to stay in front of one another.
Yeah, Logan sure did clamp it to the bottom again, and there's Jeremy Miller nearly making contact with Brad Slaughter. They might have just scraped a touch or two, but that 8 car, not going to lead the lap, just barely missed it. They tied for that lap, but nonetheless, still a drag race with 3 lanes heading into turn 1, Finian.
Take a look and actually see how many laps. Not that it really matters, especially at a track like this, but take a look and see the lap leaders. 19 laps led by Jake Nichols, 3 by Slaughter, 4 by Clampett, 1 by Groner, 5 by Miller, and there might be, and I think that's about it. How many other drivers have gone up there and tasted the lead? It seems.
Well, I thought for a second Miller was going to try to get in front of Slaughter, go for the lead, but came inches from clearing the 8, wasn't able to do it, but now Clampett, we'll see what decision he wants to make. You kind of want to lead the bottom at all costs, especially as we'll inch toward a pit stop probably in the next 20, 30 laps. So you don't want to get too far away from that bottom lane, but you do want to keep control of the race at all costs either way, as it looks like, Nichols wanted to get to the middle and almost hit his teammate Groner.
Yeah, interesting times there for that outside lane. Only 3 cars now, with Nichols being the leader of that, and some squirrely movement going on back there with guys that are about a second or so behind. Not sure who that is, but they are.
Someone's on the apron.
97? Who is that?
World? That is John Furness in the 28.
There we go. I haven't mentioned his name. Yeah, he was swerving. Yeah, he was swerving on the back straightaway like he was just trying to defend everything. He didn't want anyone getting past. I'm assuming might have had some issue, a hardware issue, that caused him to swerve out of control that radically. But for now, it looks like that car is recollected. Number 20 machine.
That was almost a bad place for your car to have some hardware issues.
Yeah. This end of a corner, you don't want to enter on the apron. That's maybe rule number 1 of Daytona.
Kresick is slow. Kresick's slow. I'm not sure what happened there, but he just, I don't know if he backed out of this main pack or not, but
he has a lot of left side damage that he did not have. Is that netcode or?
Netcode or a hardware issue or something. There was so much space between him and the car that was inside.
He's fine now. I gotta believe that
seemed like netcode, yeah.
That was really weird. There's some odd things going on. When you have a delayed race, weird things can happen. That's what I'm taking out of this.
That was the 98 of Rafe Slate. That was to his inside, and there was plenty of gap between the two. So not sure what went wrong there, if that was on Kresick's end or if that was on Rafe Slate's end. But nonetheless, it's more damage for the 14 car. Going to try and navigate through this one until the next pit stop. And there's a lap car pulling to the side, Finian, and it's a modified Casey Lacatas.
He's pulling to the side, and also pulling to the side out of lane is the 11 of Philip Groner, and he's trying to join up with his teammate on the outside to help him make it to the front. Trying to get past Brad Slaughter, but Slaughter leading the middle lane, and of course Clampett still stuck on the bottom, controlling that lane on the bottom there. But there's quite a few people that have kind of, either on purpose or not, have backed off this leading pack and left a little bit of separation, it seems.
Yeah, this is a little weird. I mean, we did see the one crash, but it is a little odd. Anna Sogak's going to go for the race lead on the bottom line, but we are starting to see a main pack of about 12 cars battling for the lead, and then pretty much 13th on back. Jeff Wright on back, just kind of laying off, just waiting for this battle to either go poorly or end and not get this crazy. But it is odd to see all these drivers laying back. You can see the gap to 48's leaving, and an even bigger gap from the 48 to the driver behind him.
Yeah, this is very odd to see the first 12 cars or so just all racing, and then everyone else just spaced out, single file, some side-by-side in between. But Yeah, nothing else there, but it's the pair of Dales up front and the Dale Jr. fans of Josiah Sogak, Brad Slaughter, and the only 2 numbers he ran in the Cup Series. Go figure. But Logan Clampett's behind the 88, pushing him through the turn. Rafe Slate has now jumped to the bumper of Brad Slaughter through 1 and 2 as the outside lane starts to fade away, Finian.
Yeah, they have faded away. The 22 of Edson has backed off. He was one of the last 2 drivers on that outside lane. Now it's just Groner and Nichols up there. And it looks, as I say that, the 22 joins back up there. It looks like that charge will resume once again, and you can throw Alex Weaver in the 29. He's also trying to join up there to give them a little bit of a shove in the right direction. So the lanes are stacking back up again, and they'll continue on again as we're now 20 laps into the run. Run halfway through the fuel mileage, and I guess now is really when you want to start thinking, when do we want to make a stop? Because these guys effectively are going to be able to make it a one more stop, if I'm not mistaken.
They should be able to. Most drivers last pit lap 23, lap 24, and that's about 70 to go. So you might want to pit. I'm trying to try to do quick math.
Lap 60 if you want to do halfway.
Somewhere about that if you want to cut the halfway. But we've seen in years past and seasons past that there'll be drivers, you might see drivers get the fuel real close and run it out and then pit for fuel at the very end, or you'll see drivers do the opposite of that, pit right when the fuel window opens and try to get formed up early to gain track position on the drivers who go late. So we might see all 3 of those strategies. You might see drivers go long, go short, or you might see drivers, like you said, Hunter, just go smack dab in the middle at lap 60.
Yeah, the only problem with pitting right as the fuel window is opening is the opportunity for overtime is always there. And like I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, the last 3 races here, we've seen overtime finishes. So if you're going to cut it that close to the fuel, you might as well just save or wait until pitting another 5 laps or so. Then you might be good to go. But pitting right at the beginning of the window might not be the best idea. But nonetheless, Finian's still 3 wide, and these guys have to get single file at some point in order to get down pit road.
It doesn't look like that time is going to be anytime soon. Maybe give them another 10 laps, and they'll reconsider once they start thinking about pitting. Now they're just more worried about lap sled and track position. As we start to head further and further into the evening, it's just past 8 p.m. in the sim. The track temp has gone down a couple degrees, and it's going to potentially go down a little bit more once the sun officially sets. Still haven't had the lights come on, as there's barely a bit of daylight still hanging about over the track, starting to get much later for these drivers. The track is going to cool, and you can argue that's, a little bit easy for these drivers grip-wise. Seen a couple drivers sliding around, especially getting close to that apron. As you continue on now, lap 47 heading to 48.
It's kind of, to my recollection, calling these Pro Series races, it's not usually a time of day this series races at Daytona. Usually we race in the daylight, and it really only gets a little bit dark by the end of the race. And we pretty much started at that point as Ryan Hartz gets a little squirrely. Looks like Jake Nichols had to drop back there, and the 22 gives him room as, that's why they had to do it. Levi Heilman got back on track, but still going to run that 3rd lane. So Nichols bails out. Hartz had to take evasive action for that, but it was like I was talking about, it's a much different time of day than we're used to racing in these pro cars.
Here's another look at this save from the 54 of Ryan Hartz. He was on the bottom there, and see that outside lane just start to shimmer. Actually, it was the 26 of JT Poole who actually had a little shimmy into the 54.
Looked like there might have been a little bit of neck coat on that contact as well.
I think that contact was maybe a tiny bit more solid, though. I thought it was related to the 73 dropping back, but kind of looked like Poole lost track of where he was, came down a little bit. Was some neck coat there.
Oh, no. Got cars blinking in and out, too. That's the 11 of Philip Groner, and Connor, I'm pretty sure you've seen this a time or, you've seen this a time or two where you're riding behind someone, especially at a super speedway like Daytona. The car just goes blinking in and out. How distracting is that, especially when you're in these packs going 190 miles an hour?
It sucks. It really does, because especially if you're in the middle of the pack, it's a little bit better when it's 2x2. You probably have room to evade, but if you're 3x3 and you're stuck in your lane and you're behind someone that won't stop blinking, it's the worst thing in the world, because you can't really take their position, get aggressive with them, because you'll probably wreck them with them blinking and run into them. But they keep blinking, that's ruining your lane's run through the corner and down the back or front straightaway, and it really affects the way you can make moves if you got someone blinking in front of you nonstop. It is one of the worst things in the world, especially at a super speedway. I can't stress that enough. It's really, really tough.
Yeah, Andrew Payne, he was trying to get up there and make a third lane. It doesn't seem like drivers are interested in the third lane at the moment. Everyone's kind of falling back to too wide, and I think they're feeling that there's not much more point in going this aggressive, especially as pit stops are lurking on the horizon. So I think everyone's trying to play it a little bit more patient. As I say that, I see Jake Nichols pulling out a line, trying to make something happen. He's going to go side by side with the 35 of JT Poole and Miller on the bottom of the 30.
And they're still trying to get that track position before their stops, but not able to do it quite yet. And it is kind of crazy how many cars are staying out of this lead line, because it's not like it's a small pack. They're still, from this battle for the lead with Anna Sogak and Brad Slaughter, it's all the way back to 40th place Ryan Swan. That's how big this pack is, separated by around 4 seconds from first to 34th, and obviously we got about 6 lap cars in here as well. So that's about 30 cars just staying completely out of this battle.
Yeah, there's the last one in this pack, Ryan Swan, and honestly, that's the safest place for me, although he's got some damage involved in a wreck 7 laps down, but nonetheless, where he's at on the track, Finian, that's where I would be. I'm pretty sure that's where you would be too, away from all the action. I can just mind my own business, and not only that, but if there's a wreck, you don't have to worry about getting rear-ended from behind.
Yeah, I think, and speaking of which, some drivers coming down for pit stops. Of course, they're a bit off sequence because they're a couple laps down, both of these drivers.
Oh gosh!
That is not what you wanted. And I think Swan missed a stall. Oh no, he hit the wall afterwards. These are drivers who took the wave around last caution, so they were short on fuel. And that is not how you pit. Usually you see crashes with maybe a dozen cars because it's so chaotic, but that's a crash with 1 car, 2 cars pitting.
And even though Swan had the first pit stall, that threw him off, and that can always happen, Connor and Finian, where guys just try to slow it down, and then they slow it down a bit too much, and then they lose control and spin out on pit road, and you don't want to get caught up in that and get some unnecessary damage from it.
Yeah, it gets a little bit tricky, especially when you start to be, because he qualified in 40th, and that's the thing you have to kind of remember in your head. You're like, all right, I qualified around midfield towards the back, and then you kind of want to get in your head, all right, my pit stall should be around there, because these drivers should have already seen pit lane at least once, but you really should have an idea of where your pit stall is, especially if you're near the beginning of pit road, because you have to immediately pull off to the left and get ready to get in your pit stall. And the big thing, too, we see so many drivers make a mistake on, is slowing down for the box. Not just pit road. Slowing down into your box is usually a bigger problem because drivers are expecting better brakes that they have on pretty much every other track on the schedule. As the driver gets up on the wall, it's Trey Edson, and he recovers.
Yeah, and one problem with these tracks, most of them have 40 stalls nowadays. We've run 43 in total in area. Just like the other 2 series here, those drivers who qualified 41st to 43rd, Furness, Senesac, Therian, all of them share stalls with the drivers who qualified 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So you got to be aware of that as well. But it is very, very important to make sure you get slowed down the pit speed. And if you have one of those early stalls, you got to go all the way to the inside wall. You can't pit from the high side of the apron and then cut across 3 lanes. It's not going to work. You're going to get yourself turned. And another big important part of it, you don't want to pit with too big of a pack. That's what we have seen cause so many issues in seasons past, and including we saw it last week as well. You got to be ready to pit with maybe 4 or 5 guys. That's about the sweet spot, and it's especially good if you're in a team of 4 or maybe 5 with an open driver involved. That's really the sweet spot. You don't want to pit with too big of a pack.
We are indeed in the sweet spot of the race where we're past halfway, about 41 to go. Next time by, these guys will cross the stripe. They'll reach 40 to go, but Jake Nichols finds himself leading again with Anna Sogak behind him, the reserve driver for Solar Flare. Actually, not Solar Flare. That's 609, I should say. Just Anna Sogak there pushing, and then Brad Slaughter leading that outside lane. It's been really those 3, Logan Clampett as well. Rafe Slate's been up here, Philip Groner, Jeremy Miller, all these guys, they've been in the same spots for about the last 10 or 15 laps, Finian, and I feel like that's about to change in the next coming laps. If we stay green, could see some green flag pit stops, change things up.
Oh, definitely it's going to about to change up. Also want to take this time to thank Elite Entertainment. Add some life to the party this summer with Elite Entertainment, located in Boiling Springs, South Carolina. Elite Entertainment provides high-quality band production to entertain any location, including karaoke, singo, music bingo, and more. Visit Linktree.ee/Elite Entertainment LLC for all contact information. As I thought I saw some drivers coming to pit lane. I saw my ticker light up like a Christmas tree there for a second.
Saw Zachary Carr pit. He's another one of those guys who took the wave. He came out of pit lane, but really no one else has come down. But we are, I believe, in that fuel window. We're just under 40 laps to go, and these Xfinity tanks, it's a little bit of a close call, but you should be able to make it from here, and we'll see if anyone wants to risk it and take the short route.
Starting to see now some more drivers jump up to that third lane. I think that's Fuller in the 55 trying to go alongside the 77 of Andrew Payne. And another car going with him. That's Eidson in the 22. And then I think that is that Garrett Grant?
Levi
No, that's the
Bauman.
99.
Bauman, yep.
Yeah.
16 laps down. Probably trying to get up there, maybe help whatever teammates he has.
I'm sure he's just happy that he finally has his car repaired and he can at least run with the pack. Damage was so bad before, he's missing the nose of his car, but finally has some damage to at least have some sort of fun here. Although you can argue it's not that much fun when you're 16 laps down in 41st.
No, definitely not. You're just hoping you get even more attrition, but if we get wrecks late in the race, it's going to be hard to pick up those positions when he is that many laps.
Speaking of a huge wreck!
Oh my
Rafe
gosh.
Slate's in the fence.
Oh, and another massive wreck off of turn 4. Ryan Slaughter's car is destroyed, and the caution flag will wave once again here.
Lauder and Nichols were leading their two lines as well.
Well, when it
Huge.
rains, it pours. Take a
Rafe
look and
Slate.
see what happened there. Oh, let's start at the beginning. Justin Soga got turned around.
Yeah, and Rafe Slate was one of the driver we saw at the netcode to... did he get netcoded? I don't remember. I think he was the one who was on the middle and netcoded someone, but we'll see on the replay. He's on the right rear of Anna Sogak. That one doesn't look like netcode to me. It looks like just kind of got squirrely, and then look at him go through the fence.
Don't forget about green flag pit stops now, because everyone's
Yep.
going to be making their stops under this caution brake.
Trying to see, who was it that he made? Was it Ray Slade or something? Right.
Anna Sogak and Rafe Slate.
Tail end of that, trying a little bit further back to see how that contact looked.
Right there. Just came down at a bad time. And once again, same exact thing. Jake Nichols is the last driver at the front through, but really big mistake to make. Obviously didn't mean it, but it seemed like he and the 88 and the 8 all got the worst of it there, but so many drivers with more big damage.
Jeremy Miller looked like he made it through there relatively unscathed.
Oh, and Philip Kroner, they almost hit each other, but yeah, you can see the chaos in behind. Brody Falliker also got through, so big pickup on positions for him as well. So a lot of drivers were able to get through, but I think even more got rather unlucky in that one.
Well, I did say, this race is going to be a matter of making it to the end. And unfortunately for quite a few drivers, that is not the case. And a lot of them are out or with some heavy damage. All race off pit lane. Logan Clamp, it looks like he's going to win that one. Jake Nichols, John Furness, Philip Groner. Sorry, not John Furness. Looked like he was ahead there for a second. But Philip Groner will inherit third. Jeremy Miller, and then Zach Nichols in the 44. I haven't mentioned him all night long. He's good, started from a ways back, now up in 5th.
And like you guys said, this is definitely the time when all these drivers are this is the time when all these drivers are pretty much going to be good to go for the rest of the race on fuel. Even at this point, it still might be a tiny bit close for green white checkers, but even with this yellow alone, you would think these drivers will have enough to save for at least one or two, but you don't have only one anymore this season. We have 3 at our disposal. I think the first time we used one this season was Monday night at Texas, so we'll see if that becomes a factor on fuel if we get into that green white checkered scenario, but we would hope it's not the case. It looks like Logan Clampett cycled to the lead, where he's kind of been most of the night battling for it. Then Nichols, Groner, Miller, and Zach Nichols, the top 5. So you got 3 609 Motorsports drivers still up there.
Oh.
Yeah, blinking in and out.
Another one.
Well, better for this to happen under yellow than 190 mile an hour in the middle of the pack, especially if you're Logan Clampett. He's been up front majority of the night. So is Jake Nichols, Philip Groner's there as well. Jeremy Miller also. And then you mentioned it, Zach Nichols inside that top 5. The long-lost Nichols brother of Jake and Tyler, I'm presuming, and I don't think that's accurate, but I like to speculate nonetheless. But yeah, solid run for him. Haven't talked about him too much though, but it's been a solid debut so far for Zach.
Yeah, not too far behind them. Brody Folliker in the 42. He's been fairly quiet. Just around the outside of the top 10. Then we got Alex Weaver. He's been hanging out near the front. Jeff Wright's been able to make it through a majority of the wrecks. Was almost taken out in that second wreck. Avoided the inside wall. Bronson Stafford haven't really mentioned the 61 all race, and you can argue for better or for worse. Sitting in 9th place, and Alex Bell will round out the top 10.
Also haven't talked about that 38 of Alex Bryson. 38 car's been clean pretty much the entire race, and the gradient on the side of that Camaro. So another driver who this is one wreck more so than the second caution of the race. This one's put even more players in the top 20, like DeWeese, like Devin Johnson. Garrett Grant's up into the about 11th position. Colin Fambro's up to 14th. Ben Pierce top 15 as well. So plenty more drivers at the front, and it's an important time to get yourself to the front of the field as well, because this is go time. You're not waiting on another green flag pit stop. You're getting to the front as soon as possible.
Yeah, there's very little time to waste as, again, Tom Bourne starts to blink in and out as we're going to be 35 laps left in this race, Finian, and it's already been a doozy. You've had 2 big wrecks, had a wreck on the first couple of laps, and still have all the front runners here left in the going. But how much longer? Only time will tell. There you see the race analysis on the bottom. Already 31 lead changes, 51 green flag laps, and did mention the 3 yellows for incident. I'm ready to get strapped back in and ready to go rolling.
Yeah, we'll see. We got a plane taking off in the background as these drivers are getting ready to take off here. Just about 35 laps left to go in this race. And we'll see, is it going to be green till the end, or do we have a couple cautions left in store to slow down the pace? We'll see. These drivers are fueled up to go to the end. We'll see if it'll last. Clampett leading them on down. And the green flag will fly once more again here at Daytona. Great start for those drivers in the outside lane, at least at the moment, but Clampett leading Groner on the bottom as they're starting to fight back on that bottom lane.
Until Clampett went on green there, did not get a jump out ahead of the field, which is probably exactly what he wanted. You do not want to get a jump and then have everyone have a run on you, but part of that's going to let these 2 teammates, Jake Nichols and Jeremy Miller, get a little run down the back, but a good push from Philip Groner and Zach Nichols are going to keep those 2 lanes even as they're 3 wide at the back.
That's still a drag race throughout the first 10 rows or so. Some shuffling throughout the back half of this field, but 73 and Nichols going to lead the lap. Jeremy Miller pushing in strong suit behind him. Brody Falliker, Jeff Wright on that outside as well. Inside lane starting to go nowhere, just trailing a bit to the 73 as Nichols comes down in the middle of 1 and 2.
Decides to go ahead of the 44 and hold them up at bay, or sorry, I should say the 90. I don't know, one of the 2, pick one. As he's trying to keep him at bay, and I think maybe there's some concern because Clampett, he's been making some aggressive moves near the front. He's clearly shown he can lead and control a pack. And I think they're trying to maybe keep him at bay and subdued. There's a 48 of Jeff Wright as well in the mix. The 48 car, he's been fairly quiet since the drop of the green flag. Haven't seen him make a whole lot of moves, but now he is just outside the top 5, and I think Jeff Wright, he's going to start making some moves.
We'll see who's the first to get to the 3rd lane, though. It took maybe 15 laps or so to get that 3rd lane started last run, and then we had the crash, and now we're back green. And just like the last time we went on a restart, it took a while to get 3x3, and everyone's still content to be in one of the front 2 lanes. There's really no movement back outside the top 10. Miller, Falliker, Jeff Wright, all content. Here goes Logan Clampett. As I say that, he wants the race lead. He'll get a huge bump from the 30 of Miller back to the lead into turn number 3.
Big bump to the 90 of Logan Clampett. Going to take the lead on the outside lane. Got Brody Falliker, like I mentioned, and Jeff Wright on that outside lane behind Jeremy Miller. Starting to get a little dicey there on the exit of 4, but the first 7 cars neck and neck. And there's a little separation with Alex Bell, or William Bell, I should say. Alex Weaver. Bryson in that top 10 as well, but it's Clampett leading the way heading into turn.
Clampett leading the way on the top, but on the bottom, Nichols and Groner are starting to make some progress as well. As Zach Nichols in the 44 trying to join on in with that trio. A little bit further back, the packs haven't really mixed up or changed up a whole lot. They're pretty much running 2x2x2.
Oh, Nichols made contact at the front. Nichols and Clampett, I thought they were going to door slab there. They kept it straight, but you can see how much more aggressive he's getting with the side drafting, or at least how aggressive Clampett is getting, and Miller's trying to follow him down there as Matt Bell and looks like Ryan Hartz are trying to get a tandem up there. There goes Alex Bryson. He took a peek 3 wide, but not quite enough momentum.
Thought better of it. Decided to stay in the middle. Still 31 laps left. When they cross the stripe next time by, it'll be 30 to go, and Matthew Bell, very consistent last year. Alex Bell, the W does not stand for William, I don't think, but nonetheless, the two Bells are working together on that outside lane and starting to get a little separation now with that front group. Some more 3-wide action heading into 3.
Yeah, there's a 48 of Jeff Wright leading them on that charge, and it looks like he's going to be the one to jump with a couple other drivers in behind. Of course, the 48 and 15 are teammates with Central United Motorsports, and there is the 30, Jeremy Miller, joining some familiar names up at the top, and going to try to have them go. Ooh, it was a big shake up in the middle. The 42 got loose. The 48 got on the wall, and that could have been another wreck right there.
It kept it straight, but it lost all the momentum for those top 2 lanes. It's going to let Philip Groner also get clear, as well as the 73. We'll see what they both want to do. Groner's going to try to lead the middle lane. What's Clampett going to do? Is he going to try to lead that 3rd lane? Not quite. So we're going to have those 2 teammates, all 3 609 teammates at the front, leading both lanes. But watch Logan Clampett here. If he gets clear of the bottom, he's going to take it. But Groner's actually going to go in front of his teammate to lead that bottom line.
Yeah, I got Groner on the bottom, Clampett in the middle, then Jeremy Miller on that outside lane with Jeff Wright pushing him through. Saw the 30 blink in and out just a tad bit. Still got speed, though, strong speed, as he might have a chance to lead this lap. Coming to the stripes, going to be very close. I don't even know who got it, Finian.
Groner.
Yeah, I don't know who got that either. Coming at the line, it was extremely close. But Groner's going to be leading ahead of Clampett and Miller trying to get a run going. But that top lane, as soon as it appeared, it's slowly disappearing. Matthew Bell's fallen to the back. Alex Bell still in behind, but I don't think he really hang out there much longer. I think I just saw Blaze McKinney jump to the top lane. Indeed, he did. Looks like he's going to answer the call and help them out there.
Yeah, they had a decent run down the back, but through the corners is where they're really going to struggle to keep pace. They drop all the way maybe 2 lanes backwards, or 2 rows backwards, as it's just much harder to keep the temps cool when there's only 3 cars up there. Jeff Wright doing all the heavy lifting, while the 15 kind of just lays back, and 87's not caught up to them quite yet. So once again, back to really 2 lanes leading this front line as that 3rd lane looks for more momentum.
Trying to get any momentum that they can, and especially if Blaze McKinney's there. We've seen McKinney make moves time and time again on that 3rd lane tonight. It's been his bread and butter. So you're right on board with the roof of Alex Bell in the 15. Still a side-by-side battle down the front stretch for the lead. Got Jake Nichols, Logan Clampett going at it, Falker and Groner as well. And then the rotating door of the top 5 as Jeremy Miller's trying to keep that 3rd lane.
Big block.
Touch. Oh my gosh, and Clampett's now up in the middle.
Big block in the middle of the turn. You usually don't see that, as you can see 609 cars flanking him on either side, trying to find some sort of way around him. The 44 is a thorn in their side tonight.
And he is getting flanked by 609 cars, but he's still getting a good push from the other one behind him in Nichols, and he's been the only one really making those blocks in the middle of the corners. But we know Logan Clampett, he's a big name in sim racing, always has been. He can make that work pretty easily, as he has all night long. Here goes Nichols. He goes of a 3rd lane, even though Miller wasn't really there to help.
Whoa.
Falker gave a big bump to the 90 of Clampett, but here comes that 3rd line. Jeremy Miller pushing Jake Nichols, and the energy in the middle lane kind of dying.
Starting to get a little more organized up towards the front now. Philip Groner can go up to the outside if he wants to. Going to try and pair up with his counterpart teammates in Jake Nichols and Jeremy Miller, but to no avail. He'll lead the middle for now, blocking Clampett. That bottom lane now being led by Zach Nichols in the 44, but it's the outside one that's going to the lead, Finian.
Outside one getting a big push. The 73 and the 30 hooking up, and that's giving enough of a run for Nichols to get ahead. Whoa! The 30 of Jeremy Miller ended up hitting the 11. Oh,
they're crashing in the
background.
On Fambro's around. No caution yet. Ryan Hartz is around. 2 cars crashed. There's no caution.
The remaining green as they both sit there on the bottom getting back up to speed. Sorry to cut you off there, Hunter.
Yeah, they're far enough below the racetrack where a caution would not be needed, and this was all in checkup to what was happening up front with the 609 teammates, and just unfortunate for Fambro, Ryan Hart's in the 54 as well. No caution, still green at Daytona.
Yeah, check up there, got into the 18, and both of them ended up going for a whirl, and I think the 54 he got a hit from behind as well to finish him off, so both of them going to drop back down the order. But I'm not sure why Miller came down. I'm not sure if he got loose up there on the top, because he came down from the top into the bottom and hit the 11. That's kind of what set that off.
It looked like they were trying to box the 90 in and not have Clampett leading the lanes. So when Groner dropped down, I think Miller thought, okay, I'm going to take the middle now. But then Groner went back to block Clampett in the middle, so they collided, and it caused all that stack up. Miller did a great job saving it, but it was really poor miscommunication between those two. And here goes Groner. He's still got speed for the lead, Hunter.
Yeah, he's still trying, but now Philip Groner's going to the outside. Going to have a strong enough run to try and lead the lap. He will. But will he lead the most important one? That's the last ones, the checkered flag lap. We're still over 20 laps away from that, and Groner's going to jump to the bottom, clamping in the middle, and Jeremy Miller still knocking on the door, Finian, in that third lane.
Yeah, he's far from giving up. He's charging back again with Jeff Wright in behind, trying to get some sort of charge going forward. They're going to need probably one more car to jump up there. As I see that, there's John Furness in the 28 car, that black, white, and yellow machine joining up there to give them that last car that they need to give some sort of push going forward.
And he started all the way back in the 41st position. It's taken him 70 laps to get into a fight at the lead pack, and he's trying to make his mark.
Yep, still pulling through on that outside lane. Haven't talked about him too much. He had a moment earlier on in the race, but other than that, it's been a quiet night for the 28 of John Furness, and maybe being quiet is the right way to go about things for him as he's closing in on this top 10, and they're starting to get a little squirrely towards the bottom, Finian.
Yeah, they're squirrely everywhere in this pack, it seems. Everyone's trying to get more aggressive with their pushes, and, well, they got to figure out something because there's a giant, not a giant, but a relatively big pack of lap cars ahead of them. This is 55, the 8th, 20, and the 77, and that is Brad Slaughter, Andrew Payne, Justin Fuller, and the 20 of Ryan Swan, and the leaders are coming up on them quick, and they're 3 wide.
Looks like one of them is going to the apron. That's Payne going to the apron. Doesn't look like Fuller, Slaughter, or Swan are going to be willing to do so. Now they do. Looks like all 3 of them will, so the smart decision there to just go to the apron and let them go.
Yeah, they waited until the right time to do so as the leaders went around them without issue, and still a side-by-side battle between the 73 of Nichols, the 11 of Groner, the 30 of Miller, still rolling in that third lane. But what is Logan Clampett going to do? Brody Falliker's up here. He's been creeping around this top 5 for a majority of the night. Groner to the inside, Clampett in the middle. Here comes Falliker with the shove.
They're growing here in the inside lane. Clampett taking control of the middle lane, which he seems to prefer almost. In a way, we mentioned Brody Falliker as Clampett is trying to find some place to defend. He goes back to the middle. Big check of middle lane. 38's around. Does he save it?
No caution yet. That really jumbled things up. Now Groner, Miller, and Nichols are going to be at the front. That looks like Logan Clampett got caught in no man's land out of 4.
Phenomenal piece of driving here from Alexander Bryson as we watch on this replay. They're checking up in the middle lane because of the move up front. And unfortunately into the side of Alex Weaver, but nonetheless, still impressive driving from those two. And we stay green at Daytona.
Great saves.
Yeah, Alex Weaver there. You hear him getting down, getting on the clutch, just letting the car get back up to speed. And I think he might have gotten a drive-through, but I think the Evans are going to clear him before they take evasive action, so he should be good on that front. He's actually still in the pack somewhat. He's just in that one of those secondary packs. And even the 38 is also caught back up with these stragglers near the back. So if they can get something going back here, they might have a chance. They're not completely out of it just yet.
Not completely out of it, but with 20 laps to go, you got to start making up ground. This has really jumbled up the front pack to only being about maybe 10 to 16, 17 cars. Very sparse, I would say, just outside the top 10 as they get by the 54, who was in that one previous crash that didn't bring out the yellow. It's really jumping things up, and what it's done, Clampett's not leading a line anymore. Miller's at the front of the middle line, Groner leading the bottom line, and there's not even enough cars to really get a legit third lane going unless we'd see 3 or 4 cars jump up there like we did earlier.
Yeah, and the 30 and Miller you saw there in turn 3, he's still struggling at least some bit with the handling of that car. It's just super loose, especially getting pushed. Logan Clampett, the one doing the pushing. Jeff Wright on that outside as well. But on the bottom, it's still Philip Groner and Jake Nichols pushing away. So 1, 2, 3 so far for 609 Motorsports. Got the 44 Zach Nichols down there as well. It's a side-by-side drag race. Here comes Miller with the run off 2.
Big run off of 2 with the 90 of Logan Clampett giving a big shove in behind. Trying to get something going there. I'm curious to see who is going to be that one that starts it outside lane, but for the moment they're duking it out side by side, 2 by 2 into turn 3. And that lane dying off just a little bit at the moment. I see a couple cars coming from back. Oh, and David Weishart, I saw a nose out of line for him. And Weishart was involved in a wreck not too long ago, so glad to see this 33 car back up here in the mix.
Yeah, I thought he got a lot more damage, but clearly not because he was able to almost fully recover from it. Now he's found himself inside the top 10 along with Bronson Stafford, who I believe is the driver just right behind him. And that was interesting. Last time down the back, it was another one of those good runs from the middle lane. It looked like Miller and Clampett got clear, but Miller kind of threw a little fake to the bottom to slow up that middle lane, and it forced Clampett to lift and couldn't get to the bottom to the inside of Miller. So it definitely seems like they're trying to kind of cast him out and make sure Clampett can't control this race.
Weishart's car is built like one of those brick ovens from 812 Pizza there on the hood of his number 33, as Miller's still struggling and still pulling through. Loose is fast, Finian, but you don't want to be too loose here as we get later into the run.
Yeah, I don't really think you want to be loose at Daytona when you're going 190, almost 200 miles an hour into some of these turns. Yeah, it's just not a condition you want to deal with, especially with someone pushing in behind. So easy for the car to wreck. And speaking of 3-wide action, we see Braxton DeWeese in the middle with that 13 car. He's got Alex Bell on one side and to his inside Matthew Bell on the other. And further back looks like a couple stragglers. And look at that pack, that second pack they've caught back up. So 38 and the 29, they're back in this.
It looks like they kind of got saved by it being pretty spread out earlier. Alex Weaver, that 29 actually looks all right for the most part. I could see some left side damage on the 38 of Alex Bryson, but for the most part, all good. The only problem is that track position they had. They had pretty good track position. They got to gain all that back rather quickly as we're closing in on 15 to go. Miller's clear of Philip Groner for the race lead, but they seem pretty content to have 609 Motorsports cars in both leading lanes right now.
Yeah, they both control the field. Groner on the bottom, Miller on the outside, and yeah, this pack's starting to get a little bit more full again, as towards the back there you saw Connor O'Kresick was in there as well. He was involved in a wreck where yellow did not come out, but nonetheless, he's still pulling through in that 14 car, even though he's got some damage to him, and still pulling through. And that third lane, Blaze McKinney, mentioned it earlier. He's been one to make moves in that third lane, trying to get it going. Some separation throughout the pack, Finian.
Some separation as the third lane tries to form. You see Bronson Stafford taking advantage. Jeff Wright going to step out of line ahead of Blaze McKinney. And David Weiser, Braxton DeWeese, they're going to lead a charge. The third lane has formed, and they're going to the front.
And this will be interesting to see what Miller does. Well, as I say that, I thought he'd have at least be clear at a 2, but not the case. That top line got through 1 and 2 very fast. They'll probably have a huge run down the backstretch. Then Jeff Wright will have a decision to make if he gets clear, if he wants to lead those 2 lanes, knowing he has teammates in behind him, but doesn't look like he's going to get clear.
Whew. Big juke
Jeff
from
Wright
the 9.
getting that big push there going into the lead there. The 9 of Shane Therian. I don't think we've talked about him too much tonight. He's in that prime number 9, and he's in the prime position. But that outside lane now starting to fade a bit. Not sure what happened, but it's like their 15 seconds of fame wound up in flames just like that. But they're still there trying to make things work. But
crash! Ben Pierce.
Round, caution will fly. He saves it, but the caution will fly.
Oh, that time the caution comes out. Okay, that was weird. Middle of the pack. And there was nothing that happened up ahead like it was the other 2 times.
Yeah, I was just about to say 2-time winner of this race.
Oh, contact between Weaver and Ben Pierce. Set that off.
Yeah.
And Shane Therian, who we were just talking about for the first time, innocent bystander there. So we'll see here, Hunter Finian, the little bit of contact from left front of the 29 of Weaver to the 65 of Ben Pierce. Right there.
Yeah, was trying to find where he was on the scoring. It's impossible to find some of these drivers.
Right there, just nothing he could do. But it looks like both drivers are going to get away with it with maybe minor damage. See the contact right here.
Yeah.
Just a little bit squirrely in the tri-oval for Weaver.
And great save and recovery.
Yeah, definitely that could have been a lot more cars involved for sure. This is going to be an interesting point in the race where you're good on fuel, so you're probably not going to see anyone even come down to pit lane. But there is tire wear, Hunter, but I would think no one in the top 20 is going to come down. We have 26 lead lap cars.
No, not unless you have damage like maybe Connor O'Kresick, maybe James Skyley. I don't know if he's got some damage involved in one of the incidents tonight, but unless you have some damage that's hindering you, I would expect to come down and maybe try to get that fixed. But we'll see whenever these cars come around and pit. Some might pit whenever pit road is open.
Yeah, I think pit road should be opening this time by. And we'll see if anyone takes it. I just don't think it's really worth it at this point, right? Because you have enough fuel to make it to the end. Tires, they're nice to have, but you already have tires in the car. The wear, it's some important to keep track of, but it's not defining the race. The 30 of Miller, I think he's going to do a fake. I'll be genuinely surprised if he comes down.
What a fake. He had everyone fooled.
I did actually think he was. He was going down a little bit more than I was expecting him to, but
it's like JT Poulin 18th will be the first one to come down. He'll bring most of the drivers lead lap behind him, but most of them are still lap down cars. Like we said, 26 drivers lead lap, so he's not losing too much track position doing this. Oh, got to make your stall.
Goes a long way.
Going to get some service to his car. I think he has a little bit of damage to fix as well. I can see maybe a crease on the right side. Much as it's body work or not. Oh. Uh-oh. Get out of the car? Oh, there he goes. There, he's back in the car.
He did get out of the car. He's just going to get out, repairs damage, get maybe something to drink when he's on pit road, and get back out there.
Going to legally perform a Sterling Marlin.
Like that Casey Kane commercial.
Man, Casey Kane had some really good commercials. They were a lot of good commercials in the mid-2000s, in the 10s.
He's part of a lot of them.
Early 10s.
Yeah.
He still looks like a time traveler from the early 2000s. That man does not age.
He doesn't.
He definitely doesn't. How old is he now?
Oh, gosh, he's somewhere in his 40s.
That's what I would
44.
Think, right? All right, well, we're under caution, and could potentially be one of the last cautions we see. I doubt it, but you never know.
His age is 44.
44, wow.
So right on the money. I don't know if you guessed correctly or actually knew.
I just thought it was in the 40s.
I just know Casey Kane. I think if we had Bryce Senasek in here, he would know as well.
Oh, he would know his date of birth, what hospital he was born in, all that stuff.
Unfortunately,
he's in this race, I believe.
Yeah, he is. It's not been the best of races for him.
Looks like he's trapped a lap down. He's actually the first driver a lap down. Did not see who got the lucky dog. It might have been Greg Mitchell.
I would say probably Greg Mitchell or Ryan Hart's, one of them too. But as we get ready, I think we're going to get the 1 degree this time. But I just want to take a chance to thank High Banks Podcasts. Just two blue-collar guys, Nick and Alex, talking about NASCAR and more. Listen to episode 205 with Brad Slaughter, and a new episode with Jacob Bell coming soon, available on Spotify. And also got to thank Rick's Hot Sauce. We can find where James Kelly is. There he is on the track. Head over to rickshot.com for some of the best hot sauces made locally in South Florida. Try the Loxahatchee Classic, Golden Garlic, Palm Beach Pineapple, or South Beach Heat. Follow the Rick's Hot Sauce Rookie of the Year battle in the Area Cup Series to see which driver will take home the $100 prize as the highest finishing rookie in the point standings. James Skyley not having the best of runs here at Daytona, but I mean, I said it with Douglas Newbiging in the Cup Series race, and I was almost right. If there's a wreck, he might have a chance and just kind of drive his way on through, even though he's back in 20th. We'll see what happens here.
Man, we will see what happens here as another plane lands. They're very busy tonight on the back straightaway, but there's still anyone lead lap is still in this race. Even the drivers fighting for the lucky dog, which will be Senesac, Payne, Justin Fuller. They're all still in this race as well. 30 cars that can most likely still win it, but it's going to be a lot tougher at the front. Those 609 Motorsports cars have really kind of been at the front the entire night. Groner, Miller, Jake Nichols, minus Zachary Carr and just Anna Sogek, but they've still been pretty fast. And now they'll be able to restart 1, 2, 3 and might have an easier time controlling this field because of that, restarting with 10 laps to go, as they'll have Zach Nichols starting in the 4th position. Clampett will be maybe a little trapped on the bottom in 5th.
Yeah, Logan Clampett's going to have some work to do if he's going to have a shot at winning those 609 cars there. First 2 on the bottom, first 1 on the outside. Going to be interesting seeing how this one turns out. Finian, track temp down to 82 degrees. The sun's gone down. The lights are up. The intensity's even higher. We're ready to go back green at Daytona.
Yeah, the temperature may be down, but it's about to heat up here. Coming to the restart, 10 laps to go. And remember, we have those 3 attempts at an overtime. We'll see if we have to use it. Leading them down is Philip Groner. He's off and away. We're back green at Daytona.
Real big jump from the top 6. They were all ready to go. And then a big gap to row number 4, which had Alex Bell in it, as well as Braxton DeWeese, as Groner's going to take the lead. Miller's going to drop back into the battle for second with teammate Nichols, as they'll lead the front 2 lines.
They might be setting ducks up there with that gap, and it's actually being closed already. They're side by side down the back stretch there. The 61 of Bronson Stafford. Haven't talked about him all night, but he's up here inside the top 10 when it matters most. 1 car jumping up to the outside. That's John Furness, making it 3 deep, Finian.
Making it 3 deep, and he's brought a friend. That's Alex Bell in behind. Jeff Wright trying to make it to that top lane, but he gets put back down by Furness, saying, nope, I'm going to go to the outside of you. I'm going to lead this charge to the front. We'll see, can he make it? Nope, it's going to be Zach Nichols jumping in front.
That's my fault. I said Tyler. It was Zach, but he's going to go to the 3rd lane and kind of leaves Miller and Jeff Wright together. They've worked together on super speedways in seasons past, leagues past. They'll have to tonight, as someone's really blinking badly. I can't tell Tom Bourne. He's had that issue all night. We'll see if Wright wants to get in front of Furness and Nichols at the top, but he's not able to. Miller's going to lead that middle line. Groner's content to just run the bottom.
All about what Jeff Wright wants to do, because he was indecisive there the last time through turn 3 if he wanted to go up to the outside.
Whoa!
Where's McKinney? Jump first! They're spinning in the turn! Here we go! A big wreck! 9 laps to go, and the caution's back out.
Oh, James Scioli's totaled in this.
Still taking hits. Got the worst end of it.
Alex Bryson, big damage. Stafford got a huge bit of damage. It's another odd one there. Didn't even see what happened. Just another maybe stack up. And Matthew Bell took a big hit. There's the hit from Scioli. Another one there. Zachary Carr involved. And let's try to take an overhead shot at what happened here. Starting with somewhere in the middle with the 28.
McKinney. 87, yeah. McKinney made contact with him and Bronson Stafford, and that sent everyone sideways, and then the guys in the back just checking up.
Yeah, that was just another one, kind of like we saw the last yellow, just someone in the middle or one of the lanes just kind of losing track of where they are. And the 87 into the 28. When it happens entering the corner, Hunter, there's not much you can do.
You're just kind of along for the ride, and an unfortunate end to the 7 and the 28 as well. Just caught up in that wrong place at the wrong time. I mean, right in the middle of the entry to the turn. That could not have been at a worse spot on the racetrack.
Just blocks the track, and you can't slow it down enough to get to the apron either. You can see all these drivers just trying to check up. Senesac, maybe a light tap to Bryson, and the 3 gets some damage there as well.
Devin Johnson getting a small piece of that at the end there. Yellow out one more time.
We'll see even less people pit here. Ben Pierce pits from 13th. The car looks kind of all right. I'm kind of surprised by that, but most of others are pitting for damage repair, and this what it really does. It makes it even harder for the drivers 4th on back to beat these 3 teammates, because they get another restart to time it the way they want with even less laps to go, as free pass looks like it goes to a 77 there.
Yep, Andrew Payne getting the wave around. So one more, he will be back on the lead lap. That puts 26 cars on the lead lap. A couple more drivers a lap down. Quite a few more getting repairs on pit lane. Not where they would want to be, especially James Scully. It's been a tough night for him. Justin Munsell as well. Getting repairs on pit lane for him. Brad Slaughter still down there fixing that car up. John Furness, of course, just being involved in that wreck. And Bryce Senizak, he is actually close. We were talking about him getting close. I think he needs maybe one more yellow, but at the rate we're going at, we have a solid chance of getting it.
I would say we'll definitely have a solid chance of getting it. He's just got to make sure he's in position for it, as the 77... I don't even know. I believe he was one down, so he'll be lead lap. And then Senesac will have to fight with Justin Fuller for the next one if they get another caution, as we've ran 75 of, about 88, 89 complete laps under green. But there have been a decent amount of yellows and a decent amount of attrition. Cameron Hearn, Travis Beckner, Levi Heilman, Trey Eidson, Justin Sogak, Rafe Slate, and then I believe most recently Justin Munsell, not just Munsell, and James Scioli. So about 7 or 8 cars all out of the race, as we'll probably get this restart with about 5-6 laps to go.
Yeah, I think we might get the one to go about this time by. As we getting ready for the restart, we'll go through one last read here for shop.areaiRacing.com. Race fans, visit shop.areaiRacing.com for high-quality merchandise at low prices. Shop from over 100 selections of t-shirts, hats, championship brand clothing, and more area accessories. Easier to shop, quicker to ship, better to wear. Shop.areaiRacing.com. Getting ready for the restart here. 1 lap to green. It'll be 5 laps to go. Hunter, do we finish this under green? Well, at least let me rephrase that. Do we finish without having to go into overtime?
No, not a chance.
No.
No? Yeah, I'm kind of leaning more into that. I think, especially how much we've seen everything build back up more and more, the energy for these drivers, I think they were probably going to be due one more caution. But we'll see. They could prove us wrong.
I think the problem is we're going to see that crash happen right at the front of the field, because I think these drivers, Jeff Wright, Clampett, Alex Bell, these guys, they're going to have to get really, really aggressive to get these front 3 out of control of this race. This late in the running, they're going to do everything they can to try to block and keep their lanes formed while they stay at the front and the others don't. Everyone else behind them, they're going to be trying everything they can to split them up, get them out of the main lanes, whatever they have to do to make sure those 3 aren't able to win this race. They're going to have to do it, and they're going to have to get very, very aggressive. That's where I see the yellow happening.
They're going to have to rely on this going green to the end if these guys want to have a shot, because if we get into overtime, it's going to be chaotic for just the front 4 in general, and then everyone else trying to make moves going from 20th to 2nd within the next couple of laps, if that's the case. But for now, Finian, just 5 laps remaining at Daytona.
5 laps in the scheduled distance. Let's see, do we have to use overtime? The sun has effectively disappeared. The entire track essentially bathed in night and artificial lighting. We'll see, though. Will we have any more laps added to the end of this race? In total, Groner leading them back to the green again. We're back green at Daytona with Miller trying to get back up to speed with the 73 behind. Not as coordinated as restart as I would have thought.
It almost looked like Miller was going to get in between Groner and Nichols, and it just didn't form. Now Groner's going to drop back to the bumper of Jake Nichols. That lets Miller get the run to probably keep the lead through turn 2. We'll see if Jeff Wright and David Weishart jump up to the 3rd lane to hose the 30 out here.
Don't know if they're going to be able to do that. So the 30's still leading through, but just an aggressive push from the 48 of Jeff Wright. Groner in the 11, Nichols in the 73 as well. It's very tight very tight formation through 3 and 4, Finian.
Yeah, pretty much going as the restart, at least for the first couple of rows. A couple of movements in the back of the field. 4 laps to go this time by. Whoa, a bit of a bump from the 48 to the 30 sends him a little bit loose. That's going to cause a checkup in that outside lane. And actually, speaking of the lanes, not a whole lot of drivers to the inside lane. As I say that, 2 big moves in the background. I saw that is Alex Bell moving down to the bottom, as well as, I want to say that was a 20 of Ryan Swan.
There's a modified at the middle in the bottom lane as well, kind of holding everyone up. That's Braxton DeWeese, kind of killing the momentum of the inside lane. So you only have about 5 drivers in that inside lane up to speed. Now Alex Bell's going to try to get to the bottom, but it looked like Jeff Wright was not going to lift until the 30 was out of his way or crashed. But at the end of the day, he was not able to make a move. Still waiting on that 3rd lane to form. Here goes another driver. Looks like the super of Tom Bourne up there with no help.
That's unfortunate there for the 16. No one willing to go with him. 3 laps to go now as they cross the stripe. He was blinking earlier throughout the race, so I'm not sure if that has something to do with anyone wanting to go with him. But
he's got to run.
He's still making his own ground up there.
Here's a Krezek.
Krezek joining up. He was the car that I was talking about earlier. And then there's the 35, JT Poole, Blaze McKinney jumping up there. David Weiser jumping up there. A bunch of drivers leaving that middle lane open. I see some dogfighting in the back. Ryan Hartz, Joey Chapman getting some side-by-side action. And here comes David Weiser to the front.
Miller has a decision to make if he gets clear of Weishart. Does he block the high line or have faith in Jeff Wright to stay in the middle lane? He's going to have to make that choice pretty quickly here as McKinney's not really connected to Weishart. 2 laps to go this time.
Only 3 cars now, 4 cars on that outside lane. 1 car trying to get alongside in that third group. It's the 2 car, but it's David Weishart now leading the way on that outside lane. Miller through in the middle, and Groner still on the bottom.
Through turns 1 and 2, 3 wide action here. Weiser trying to make a move. Jeff Wright making a move to the top side, blocking David Weishart. He's jumped up there, trying to go around Miller. It's a drag race down the back straightaway.
He's clear of Miller. He's almost clear of Philip Groner, but not quite. He's going to get to the middle, block the 30 of Miller. Groner's going to get the run through the corner, but Jake Nichols not pushing the 11 as that top line's going to lose some momentum, but they might gain it back out of the corner.
Jeff Wright leads the way, 1 lap away from the ending of this race. One lap to go from Daytona.
Here we go. We're going to finish this thing under green. Jeff Wright leading, trying to lead all 3 lanes there at the front of the field. Groner on the bottom, Weiser on the top. Miller stuck in behind.
Miller's clear, though, but that high line doesn't have momentum. It's all depending on what Miller tries to do, but there's no third lane. They've lost all momentum. He might have no choice but to push Jeff Wright until out of turn number 4.
Down the backstretch for the final time, Jeff Wright clears the way. Here comes Falliger to the outside. Groner on the bottom. He's going to have a lane. Falliger on the outside, side by side for the lead for the final time.
They almost turned.
Oh, they almost turned there. It's a drag race between the bottom 2 lanes. The outside lanes died out, wrecking in behind the 73. They're turning, they're wrecking, and through it all, looks like the 11's going to make it on through. Philip Groner is going to win here at Daytona.
What a finish. You knew it was going to maybe end like that. His first race in the Pro Series, Philip Groner's going to victory lane.
I mean, a massive wreck in the back. Everyone that was in that pack, just chaos throughout the rest of the field. What a way to get your first win for Philip Groner.
Whew. I almost thought he was about to get turned there at the end. He was just able to make it on through there. Jeff Wright almost had a chance to race him there at the end, but he got collected at the last second. He ends up in 22nd, but Philip Groner, through the smoke, will make it on through and win his debut race here in the Area Pro Series. What a start to his career here.
I was saying, how about Jeremy Miller got the second through that? 609 Motorsports 1-2 through the chaos. So many drivers who had good runs taken away there, like Jake Nichols and Zach Nichols, 17th and 18th for them. And Logan Clampett, he was like top 5 all race. He finishes outside the top 20, and Philip Groner's going to take out the grass.
Not the last one to take out the grass at this point.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think half the field beat him to it coming to the checker there alone. But he lights it up there on the Daytona grass here as we'll take a look at our session results here in our finishing order. Philip Groner, a winner. Jeremy Miller, of course, a 1-2, as you mentioned, for 609 Motorsports, Connor. And David Weiser rounding out your top 3. Alex Bell getting a solid finish in his debut. Alexander Brisson, we saw him. He was around not too long ago. He somehow managed to sneak away with a 5th place finish.
Just barely. A great job getting through the crash and persevering to get that finish. We didn't really talk about Garrett Grant a lot tonight, but he gets a top 10. Blaze McKinney, a lot of these drivers 5th on back were part of the crash a little bit, but were able to recover, at least get something. None of our few Fords inside the top 10. A lot of Chevrolets. Theory and I is finishing Toyota in 6th. Another driver we didn't talk about, but gets a good finish.
Yep, Aries Ironman gets a top 10 in Garrett Grant. Braxton Luis just missing out on that top 10. JT Poole 12th. Ben Pierce, Tom Bourne, Devin Johnson, Connor O'Kresick, Zach Nichols, and then Jake Nichols, Logan Clampett. Those 2 were up there for a majority of the race. Get taken out in that last lap melee. And Andrew Payne rounds out the top 20.
And moving on back to our next page of finishers, taking a look at hit the wrong button there. 21st on bat, Brody Follaker. We saw him almost had a surprise run there at the end. Unfortunately, the finish just got caught up in that last incident. Bronson Stafford, Jeff Wright, of course, he's going to be very disappointed of what could have been. They're racing for the win on the white flag lap. Then Greg Mitchell, Ryan Hartz, Justin Fuller, Bryce Senezak, Joey Chapman, Shane Abbey, and Justin Munsell rounding out the top 30.
And a lot of drivers in that 20th to 30th range who ran up front most of the race and just didn't get the finish they deserved. A lot of drivers who ran up front and didn't get the finish they deserved here either, like Furness and Slaughter, Matthew Bell, Scioli, Rafe Slate was at the front, and the Sogak was crashed out late. There are some guys who really didn't have a chance, like Zachary Carr. He went through all the chaos and just persevered to get 33rd through attrition after really being the first driver laps down. Trey Eidson is another driver who ran pretty well and did not get nearly the finish they deserved at the back half of the field.
Yeah, then on to our last page of finishers there, we got Levi Heilman. Fortunate for him, had a fast car. Unfortunately, couldn't make it to the end. Ran into issues with other drivers and suffered with the attrition rate. Travis Beckner and then Cameron Hearn rounding out your field of 43 finishers. Well, as we finish up the race results, let's talk to our third place finisher, David Weiser. David, I'm sure you had a very interesting last couple laps, especially the final lap coming there to the end. We saw you up there. You were fairly quiet up until around the halfway point of the race, and we saw you slowly poking that 33 car to the front.
Yeah, I got caught up in a wreck. I forgot at what point in the race, like lap 20 something, I think. I don't know. I had nose damage, so I couldn't get it all fixed, so I just rode around in the back, couldn't go anywhere. And then finally we got a caution. I was able to get it all fixed and worked my way back up through there. I feel like I spent most of the race three wide middle. I don't like that. I felt like I was on the edge of control the whole race, but that last lap, or that last run right there, I had James spotting for me. He was out of the race there, so I wanted him to tell me whenever that third lane was forming, I wanted to be the leader of my line, and had some guys up there with us. I don't know if they were damaged or whatnot, but we just never could get a solid run formed. And on the last lap, you're coming out of 4. I just kept pedal to the metal. You can't lift there. So I've had a rough start to the season across all the series. Been involved in a lot of wrecks, so I'll definitely take a P3 here and get my season on track.
All right, well, David, it was a solid finish for you. We actually saw you making most of your progress, seemed on the outside lane more so than the middle lane. Was there any preference for whichever lane, or are you just trying to go forward whichever lane worked?
Anywhere but bottom. You're kind of when you're on the bottom, you're just kind of stuck there. I mean, it's good for avoiding wrecks, but when you're just running there, you're just stuck there. You can't go below the yellow line. And when we're 3x3 like that, early in the race, we were 3x3 for 10 rows back, and it felt like anyway, and you're just kind of stuck there. So I didn't want to be there. I felt like the high line would fizzle out because in most cars you got to push so hard to get that lane moving, and I felt like when they would get hot, that lane would fall back, but it never really did. So spent most of the race in the middle and high lane and made some passes and avoided some wrecks and come on with a good finish.
All right, David, well, thanks for talking to us, and we'll see you around for the rest of the season.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, and with that, we'll be moving on to our second place finisher, Jeremy Miller. Jeremy, you had a very interesting run for this race. For the most part, you were pretty much at the front of the field the entire night. A couple hiccups on the road here and there, but it was fairly strong running up near the front. Walk us through how your race went.
Yeah, I mean, it's a plate race. I'm going to run up front pretty much 9 out of 10 times. Just love this stuff. It's so much fun, and I feel like I'm pretty good at it, and it really helps when you have some great teammates to help you control the race with. Unfortunately, Zach had some connection issues tonight, but before Justin got wrecked, he was up there with us, and then Philip and Jake and I dominated the race, frankly. I mean, the last 30 laps, we kind of just were untouchable, and really glad we brought home a 1-2 for the team.
Yeah, walk us through that, because of course you had Philip Groner there with you and Jake Nichols, pretty much your right-hand man the entire race. What were you guys trying to coordinate to do? Were you trying to control all the lanes, stick together in one lane? How were you guys coordinating the effort there?
Yeah, I mean, really the main goal is just to control the bottom and middle. The third lane didn't really have anything most of the night. The only time I got clear up there is because Logan had a bit of a bobble, and Jeff got clear of me with 2 to go there because somebody decided to lift with 2 to go at Daytona instead of giving a push, which is really unfortunate and took away our chance of winning. But just controlling those lanes, we executed it perfectly. And then on the final lap there, obviously, all bets are off. We got a little bit unattached from each other. I think Jake kind of got driven through there, and it was fortunate enough that at least 2 of our cars made it out of that unscathed.
All right, well, Jeremy, thanks for talking to us. You had a great run this race, and I'm sure it'll probably be first of many for the season. So best of luck to you the rest of the season.
Thanks, Finian, and thank you for having us on the team, Connor.
Yep. You're welcome.
And with that, we'll go on to our final interview of the night, and that's going to be Philip Groner in the number 11 machine. Philip, you had a great race here. We were just talking with your teammate, the 30. Of course, you as well as Jake Nichols, you guys were in the front majority of the race, and of course, with you at the end, through the smoke, you emerged as the victor.
Yeah, just great teamwork all night. I've never been a part of such great teamwork. Great pushes, controlling both lines. That was huge. Keeping Clampett pinned to the bottom where he couldn't do much. Yeah, we were able to steal it off. It was great teamwork.
And really got to ask you on the final lap, what was the game plan? Of course, you're getting flanked by guys like Jeff Wright, David Weishart making a charge. Of course, your 2 teammates in behind you. What was the plan for you? Was it just keep it on the bottom and keep the foot to the floor?
Yep, exactly. Jake was giving me great pushes, and I knew they were going to get hot pushing up top. I knew that third lane wasn't going to work. It takes a little time. Yeah, great job by Jake pushing me, and I'm glad the 48 got turned there because I think he might have had a run to get me right at the line. But yeah, close it off.
Yeah, I was going to say, it almost looked like it would have been a reenactment of the 07 Daytona finish there with you and Jeff racing to the end, but you got lucky there that he got taken out and you emerged victorious. Well, Philip, great run for you this race. You've had some fantastic runs in general in your first few races in area, and looking forward to seeing you across all the other series as well.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, with that, gentlemen, that's going to wrap up interviews here from Daytona. As you can see, the wreck replay. We'll take a look at it a couple times here to just see how everything ended up. You can see how Philip Groner managed to avoid disaster and cross the finish line first.
Yeah, he was really the only driver to come through unscathed. Even Miller, who finished second, ends up getting damaged. It looked like the bottom line was everyone's just shoving. No one's lifting here, no doubt about it. And it just looks like things get stacked up on the bottom here. 73 into the 11, up into a 48. Then Clampett's not lifting. The 73 gets turned, sets all of that off. Just barely caught Jeff Wright. Had that not been the case, it would have been a dead heat at the line. Wow, huge hit by Greg Mitchell there, among other drivers. But yeah, Groner just barely avoided getting right reared by Jeff Wright as well. This took out maybe 20 cars.
If I see if I can get an angle where it shows all the cars.
I wanted to say that's kind of been the theme of tonight, where everyone wrecks in a domino effect except for the leader. The leader always seems to get away unscathed. It happened to Jake Nichols quite a bit until he became a part of this wreck. And in the end, Philip Groner was the one that got out unscathed and got the win.
There's everyone.
Oh, whoa! Oh, that was Clampett. He crossed the line like Kyle Busch in 2010. Oh, and Jake Nichols is just getting rid of some pests in the lawn there.
Yeah,
that was like Casey Kane. He had
a great run going, but just got caught involved in the end there, as many did. And wow, some massive hits near the end of this race.
That was a 77 out of nowhere.
Oh boy! Well, gentlemen, looks like that's going to wrap up Daytona here, and Daytona in general is a week behind compared to the rest of the series. But your final thoughts, gentlemen?
Well, I'm sure everyone's glad to be out of Daytona except Philip Groner, but yeah, definitely going to get back on track with the regularly scheduled season. All 3 series, I believe, going to Pocono next week. So we're done with the super speedways for the time being, but we are going to a pretty big track that we might see things get spread out in some series. The Cup Series might be pretty fender to fender most of the night, but what a wild, I guess, 2 weeks of Daytona across all 3 series. I think all 3 races ended in last lap crashes that were chaotic, and all 3 series had a pretty deserving winner, I would say. Pretty much everyone who won at Daytona was running at the front all race long, and I think that's important an area at the super speedways, Hunter. If you're not up at the front most of the race, you're probably not going to get the victory lane.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen surprise winners time and time again, but there's always a feel-good story for the guy that dominates, you know, the guy that's been up front for a majority of the night. You could really say any of the 609 cars, Jeremy Miller, Jake Nichols, Philip Groner obviously was the one that got the job done, but also Logan Clampett. Those four were really up front for the majority of the night. Any one of those four were deserving, and very anticlimactic kickoff to the season just because it's been a week late, Finian. But nonetheless, we're going to Pocono next week. It's my home track. I'm looking forward to it. Fingers crossed that we can make it through all 3 races.
Well, let's see how they do. Fantastic start to all the area series across the board, and we'll see how they get going. And as we mentioned, next week, everyone's going to go to Pocono, the Tricky Triangle, and we'll see how it plays out. But for now, my name's Findy Dacona here with Connor Horn and Hunter Sleppy, wrapping up Daytona here for the Area Pro Series. Thank you for watching.